Oh. Ba-da-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Hey guys, I'm definitely fighting off something. Like, there's no two ways about it. I cut yesterday's stream off short because I was feeling really exhausted, and I basically turned around. I stayed up like maybe an hour or two more, and then just like went to bed. And I slept until midday today. Like, holy cow. And I can feel like it's in my stomach. It's a stomach bug. I can tell that it's just, that's where it's coming from. That's where it's originating. And so I'm just like out of juice. Like, I'm just out of juice, man. So spending all my time resting and sleeping, it's I don't know. Am I ever going to be well again? Will I ever not be sick ever again in my entire life? Only time will tell. Only time will tell. Oh my goodness. I've just been sleeping. Simple as that. I've just been sleeping. They've changed the format of this, right? Like, they always change things, and I never know. So am I even streaming right now? I don't even know. Yeah, here I am, streaming away, as always. So that's literally my life. Usually I like to start these streams with like a little update in my life, but to let people come into the stream. But today it's like, yeah, I've been asleep. And it seems to be the worst possible time to be dealing with a sickness, right? Like, I feel like I'm the guy who will ask the girl out right after she said yes to some other guy to go out with them, right? Like, that she'll look at me and she won't be like, no, ooh, get away from me. She'll be like, oh yeah, I would, but you know, that's the story of my life. My timing is always just like right on the wrong side. Like, I'm the guy that like buys I'm the guy that'll like realize that it's time to sell the stock after it's spiked and then gone back down, right? Like, or whatever the version of that is. Like, I'm always just like like a little like that. And so now I'm like exhausted, sleeping all the time, and the revolution is upon us. That's what's gonna happen to me, guys. I know it. Like, I'm here like pounding on the pulpit being like, we gotta have a revolution, we gotta organize, we gotta get it going. And when it finally happens, I'm gonna fucking sleep. I'm gonna sleep right through it. That's the truth. That's the truth of my life. Yep, Anemone's got it right on the head. That's the story. That's the story of the day of what's going on in Ontario. I'm seeing everywhere I look right now. Everywhere I look, every place and everybody. If you, near as I can tell, the people to get connected to, if you want to really get involved in what's going on, is Fight Back. I think it's Marxist.ca, it's fightback.ca. I have tried in the past to get connected with these people and try to offer my services for interviews and things, but I think that they're satisfied with what they're doing, and looks to me like they're getting good connections with the unions and they're getting good ins on that kind of thing. And I have no problem whatsoever saying, if you want to get more specifically connected to what's going on, I think that's your way in, is the Fight Back crew. I think the Fight Back people. Is the Freedom Convoy surrounding Doug Ford's house? If they are, why surrounding Doug Ford's house? Says Ottawa Freedom Convoy, Doug Ford tells Freedom Convoy. Do you have a link? Do you have something? Oh, it was a suggestion. No way. They're not going to come out. Nope. Like, they should. If they want to give themselves credibility, they absolutely should. But they don't have credibility. Like, they don't have credibility. Like, it's over for those guys. Here was their opportunity. This is their opportunity to create, to give themselves credibility. That in terms of public opinion, they are on the outs. In terms of the way people look at them, they're on the outside of it. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt up until this very moment. The fact that they're not showing up with their trucks and doing exactly that, right? The fact that they're not honking outside Doug Ford's house, Tells you everything you need to know about these guys. And maybe you can make the argument that, like, well, they are amidst, like, a deposition trial, right? Like, they are, like, all of their organizers are tied up in this Emergencies Act trial. Like, Pat King and all of them, they're all on the stand, and they're all doing that kind of stuff right now, right? We're seeing lots of Emergencies Act stuff coming out. My favorite part about the Emergencies Act trial is that they're making a huge deal out of this one, like, death threat note that they, like, read at the trial. And I'm like, yeah, so some 14-year-old typed this up and was like, blah, 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 we're gonna come and get you. And then now they're at a deposition trial being like, this is very serious. This very serious letter that obviously got written by a 14-year-old troll. Like, absolutely. And, like, and by the way, hello everybody. Hi to all of you. Broccoli, Radio, DM, Anemone, Ligandy, Cotton. Bless you all for being here. Bless all of you for being here. What a beautiful thing that we're building here. I'm so happy that I'm not doing this to nobody. I'm so happy you guys are here. Tell the world, tell everybody I exist. Let's spread the good news. Spread my shit around, etc., on and on. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I hate that I'm sick. I hate that I'm sick, and I hate that I have to go to work when I'm sick. I hate this whole thing. Like, I want to be making, like, short videos to, like, get out there to advertise. The shorter videos are definitely better for bringing people in. I've noticed it. Like, anytime I do a shorter video, my subscriber count goes up a little bit. And it's those shorter videos that drive people here. That's what happens. And I just... It's so annoying. Getting sick just totals everything. Like, this is basically all I can do right now. Life is so dumb. Life is so dumb. Yeah, a day late and a ruble short. You got it. And like, yep, 1,150 subs as of today. Not bad. Fantastic. I know you love them, Oddity. Good to see you too, bud. I know you love them. Every single time I go and do one, I think that Oddity's gonna like this. It's good. Oh, I just gotta. Honestly, I just gotta heal. I feel like sometimes I feel, and I think that there are a lot of people who feel this way, that like I could do more. Like, I could do more. There's more to be done. Am I being lazy? But like, there is a moment where I just gotta be like, no, bro, like, I'm working a job and then also doing this and then also trying to dedicate to the small scale stuff. Like, you gotta rest. You gotta rest, and you gotta take care of yourselves, right? I know I gotta take care of myself, especially now. So I'm gonna take us through a couple of memes, and then I got a couple of good articles, because there's other stuff going on other than the QP stuff. If you are in Toronto, they are doing a picket line. Oh hell, I think, is it at Queen's Park? Shoot. I knew where it was.
So
hold on.
Why is it so important for
Yep,
everyone
it's Queen's Park. They're doing a picket line at Queen's Park tomorrow, starting at like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., going all day. Hopefully that'll be like a common thing. Hopefully, and it'll still be going on come Tuesday, right, when I can actually go, right? Hopefully this will be a constant thing, and we're going to see it go one way or the other, right? The other unions are going to come out or they're not. And to me, if they don't come out, we're gonna see QP get smashed really, really hard, and it doesn't matter what the other unions have to say from then on. Like, if the unions aren't going to stand up for one another, then as far as I'm concerned, the whole thing's over. You're in it for yourself here in the province of Ontario if that's what happens. So we're gonna go through some memes really quick. We're gonna have some. Hopefully we have a good one tonight, and hopefully I'm able to make it to the end. I was really disappointed that I had to close yesterday. 97% of the University of California's 48,000 academic workers have just voted to authorize a strike. This is the largest strike authorization vote ever taken by academic workers in the U.S. It would be the largest strike so far of 2022. So while we here in the province of Ontario are having a education workers strike, so too is it happening in California. That there's a reflection going on. That there's a certain type of citizen who is finally recognizing that this is what must happen. That the people who are in power do not care about us. They are not going to listen to us. That their job is to make our lives worse. And that's their stated agenda at this point. Yeah. Yeah, unions need to support CUPE, right? This sets a huge precedent for the future of organized labor in this country. Absolutely. Yeah. So, something communism, right, anemone? Right? It's a specter of some. Yeah, it's good to see people trying, right? And we're seeing all of it is we are seeing steam building. Steam is building. Like it started, remember like last year there were stories about like Starbucks workers unionizing, and like there were stories of like railroad workers, the John Deere strikes, right? And strikes are building and building. Well, it looks like that momentum is finally starting to. And my hope is that I am just a little beacon of energy. That's all I'm hoping for. Like I'm the participation we have with the chat and just sending it up. But what I envision all of us being is just like a focus beam of just sending energy into the universe, hitting people who are like, maybe I don't know if we should, and the lightning bolt that comes from this gathering goes and inspires them forward. That's what I hope. I hope that the entirety of Canada just goes, fuck this shit all at once. That's what I really hope. That's my dream. That we all stand up and just go, fuck this shit. Fuck this dumb bullshit. Like this is total bullshit what we're experiencing right now. It's total bullshit that the people we elect do not give a fuck about us. Like that's crazy. It's insane. Why are we even voting for people? What, like, isn't the entire point of electing people to have our lives improved? Isn't that the whole fucking idea? Like, it's so blistering to me that there's anybody involved in politics who's like, people should work harder and I'm going to abandon people as fast as possible. And there's any segment of the society that's like, that's right, we should start a civil war. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And yet here we are. And yet fucking here we are. All right. Yeah, police convoy lawyers told Emergencies Act inquiry protesters were receiving leaked police information. Now, you guys know my position on the Freedom Convoy. I think they have the right to protest. I'm not against their right to protest, right? But I can guarantee that if it was a left-wing protest, if it was a bunch of people being like, we should help the homeless, right? The police wouldn't be leaking information to them. Right? This makes this incredibly suspect and really, like, I've never in my life seen a protest movement that had police support. Like, what are you talking about? During the Occupy movement, the police were our greatest enemy. They weren't leaking information to the occupiers. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? So this sort of continues the trend and continues the obvious narrative that the police are fascist, right? That the police are not our allies, nor will they ever be our allies, right? That we should treat them as an occupying military, and that's how we should view these guys. It's incredible to me. Ugh. Yeah, from Tom Morello. USA to Ukraine. Here's $8 billion. USA to Israel. Here's $300 million. USA to Taiwan. Here's $1 billion. USA to Mississippi. Don't drink the water. Tom Morello, just nailing it. Nailing it. I mean, this is from the Arkansas Worker, right? This is it in a nutshell, right? Why are we sending this money overseas to imperialist wars to maintain a dying empire when the very people who pay those taxes don't see any benefit from it whatsoever? And this is it in a single tweet. Like, this is the death of the American empire in a single tweet. Rusty, I found out I won't have a job after December 7th. My capitalist master has decided to throw me into the street. Hopefully I can rent myself to someone else before I run out of money. Neoliberal capitalism is the best. I'm so sorry to hear that, Rusty, bud. I'm really sorry to hear that, man. I experienced that not very long ago. Right? I was working for somebody who just shit-canned me to the side. I'm sorry to hear that, bud. What a tough time for that to happen to you, dude. Like right before Christmas, too, eh? Wow. Like right before Christmas. Jesus Christ, that's like a novella. That's like from a novel. That's like Charles Dickens shit right there. Right? 'Twas the month of Christmas, and I lost my job. Like, these people have no souls, right? Like, they've got no moral compass, they've got no moral conscience. They don't give a fuck. Yeah, get as much EI as you can. Yeah, do that as much as you can. No, of course, Rusty. Honestly, Rusty, that's the reason we're here. Like, I'm here for that. Like this, if someone were to ask me what's the biggest reason why I'm here, it's so that people can come in with their personal stories like that when they're feeling at their worst, and actually have a sympathetic ear. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and give you advice, right? Like, isn't that the most annoying thing ever, right? When people are like, "Well, you know, there's another job on the horizon. Just you'll just bootstrap yourself, and before you know it, you'll be back." Like, fuck all that. Fuck all that. The system of capital is complete and total bullshit, right? Like, and these guys just decided that, oh well, this guy should be homeless because we can make a penny from getting rid of him. Like, it's so fucked up. It's so fucked up that you're having your life completely dislocated. You're saying farewell to associates that you've been building relationships with in a company that you've been building a reputation with. And now you've got to turn around and start all over again, right? And that was fine when I was like 23. But once you get to be like in your late 30s or your early 40s, right? It gets harder. It gets way harder to turn around and put yourself in another institution and start again. And you know exactly what's going to happen. You're going to go get a job and there's going to be some 20-year-old manager, right? Who's like the son of the guy that owns the place, and they're gonna be the person who tells you what to do, and you've got no. That's just life. That's just what it is for you. Just go get fucked. It's as simple as that. And yeah, be slightly drunk. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, this whole thing needs to come down. Yeah, it gets tiring. It gets beyond tiring, right? Like, ageism starts to play. It seriously starts to play. Like, people won't say this, but it's absolutely the case that when you're 40 looking around for like a job, people think you're a fucking loser. I know that's the truth for me. You look around for a job, you're 40 years old, and people are like, "Oh, I'm not going to hire this guy. He's 40 looking around for a job. Oh, what a loser." Right? People expect you to already be like in management or concretely, and nobody wants to accept that sometimes people just get fucking shit canned. Because the people at the top are total psychopaths. Like, there's no fucking compassion for anything. Ugh. So good luck, Rusty. Have a drink. Have a drink for me, okay, bud? Like, what total horseshit. Total fucking horseshit. The government preventing workers to strike is a total abuse of authority and straight up tyrannical, yeah. And Justin Trudeau is doing a good job of using it against the conservative government, or the conservative opposition, rather. Like, he's putting it to Poilievre, where he's saying, why won't you condemn the usage of this thing? And Poilievre won't, right? And so it does highlight how fraudulent Poilievre's rhetoric has been, that he's not in favor of the workers. He doesn't give a fuck. Like, if Poilievre was to stand up and actually condemn the usage of the notwithstanding clause to do this, like, I'd be like, oh, okay, so he's actually got some chutzpah. But he's not doing that. He's not going to do that, right? And so Trudeau is taking the opportunity to fucking look like a goober, which is correct. And Trudeau is also being pretty smart in standing up and saying unequivocally. And he even said it to Ford, like, to his face, essentially, over a call, that it's unacceptable and he shouldn't do it. And now the NDP are pushing on him, and we'll see what he does, right? Because words are cheap, right? We'll see what Trudeau actually does. And who knows, this could be a moment where Trudeau actually gains a little bit of credibility finally for once, right? Like, who knows what this guy's going to do? We'll see. Just shared a new video in Discord about the unions coalescing to support Coopy tomorrow. Let's take a look. Good to see you, Kaya. Union endorsed Ford speaks out. Here, let's...
Other unions in this province...
Let me get this correct. I always fucking forget about this. I always forget about this new fucking sound setup I've got here. It's so fucking total bullshit. Total bullshit! It's bullshit! Alright, here we go.
Other unions in this province are not mincing words, calling the Ford government's legislation an attack on the fundamental freedoms of Canadians.
Words are
they are
cheap.
banding together, with some even encouraging their members to join the CUPE picket lines in solidarity.
This is something that the union movement has fought so hard for, to earn and to protect. And it's really unfortunate to see it just get legislated away so quickly.
Not long ago, LiUNA members stood shoulder to shoulder with the Premier. They are one of the unions that publicly endorsed the Ford government during the last elections. Now they have publicly posted a letter to the Premier and Education Minister urging them to revoke the legislation they say erodes the rights of CUPE workers. I spoke exclusively with LiUNA and asked if they would now withdraw that endorsement.
When you endorse anybody or you support or work with any party, that also comes with a responsibility to hold them accountable when they are wrong. And in this case, they are wrong, and there's no argument to that.
OPSU education workers have already been instructed to walk off the job Friday in a show of solidarity with their CUPE colleagues. And the Ontario Federation of Labour, an umbrella group representing more than 1 million Ontario workers, is calling for the mass mobilization and support of education worker picket lines across the province, telling any members who can join to do so.
If they can trample on the rights of education workers, they can trample on the rights of every single one of us. And everyone should be standing up and screaming.
It's a dark day. It's a dark day when these rights are taken away.
And the big question being asked, what will this mean for future negotiations with other education unions? OSSTF has bargaining dates for their education workers set to take place next week, and they are concerned about negotiating new contracts with this government.
Are we going to be able to bargain, or are we going to have legislation thrust upon us as well? This type of action and being rushed through really is scary for everybody in the province and in the country.
One Labour expert tells us the notwithstanding clause was never intended to be used like this. In Ontario, this is the first time it has been used in labour negotiations, and the third time the Ford government has used the tool overall.
The normalization of this tool is concerning, and I hope people are paying attention to that. What is the purpose of a Bill of Rights if it can so easily be pushed aside when a government doesn't want to do certain things?
Defending his use of the notwithstanding clause, the education minister says this extraordinary measure is for what he calls an extraordinary time. After 2 years of disrupted learning, he says students must remain in class. For City News, I'm Tina Yazdian.
What a fucking loser, eh? Like, what a fucking loser. What a total fucking loser. Students must remain in class, and that's why we're going to enforce this on the... Instead of students must remain in class, that's why we're going to increase pay for teachers, right? Like, why isn't the narrative for these fucking narcissistic fascists, students have to stay in school, so we're going to make sure that the educators and the people who are taking care of them are well taken care of themselves, right? Why isn't that the narrative? Why isn't it the narrative that, what an unprecedented crazy time, and we just went through a pandemic and all this kind of stuff, and you did all that, and oh my goodness, and so we're going to make sure that you're well compensated for your work. Why isn't that the narrative? Oh, I tell you why. Because these people are fucking fascists. There's a CUPE picket line finder I put on Discord. Fuck yeah, you guys are on it, man. You guys are the champions here. You guys are the fucking champs of life. Where'd you put it, bud? In general? CUPE picket lines, fucking fantastic. We're gonna open this up. We're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna put this directly in. Nice. Good shit, guys. Good shit. You're the real champions here. You're the real fucking champions. So excellent, right? Picket line finder. Let's go. Like, I'm literally about to go into my work, right? Like, I got people telling me, like, hey, John, can you come out Friday? And I'm like, no, I got to go do Capitalism, right? And I'm not going to be free from it until, like, Tuesday. So hopefully this shit's still going on, and I'll actually be able to go out and maybe talk to somebody. God damn it. What you know, this is exactly my life. This is my life to a T. Yep. What good is the kids' education if they grow up into wages that don't meet the cost of living? And you really want to be taught by people who are also working at Tim Hortons at the same time, right? Who have to take a second job, right? Like you really want to be educated by people who can't pay their own bills? Like that's really what you want? Like, yeah, I recommend it to everybody. Honestly, like I have no problem saying that. Like, go socialist action, right? Socialist action is embroiling themselves in this for sure. Fight back, absolutely. Go get involved with these people, okay? Go get involved with these people. Like I am a lightning rod, but I'm barely keeping myself afloat. Okay? Like you want to find like an actual group that's actually in like a embroiled in these things. Those are the people. Ugh. They put NDP locations there for some reason, and the NDP said go to conservation locations? What? I don't understand what you just said, Adam. Yeah, jobs are not a fair economic relationship, of course, right? Get a job. Sell yourself to an owner. Come on. Just do slavery harder. Like, ugh, so fucking embarrassing. So fucking embarrassing. Ugh. So the fight is on, right? The fight is on. Today, the UN voted in favor of end the U.S. blockade of Cuba. 185 nations said great. Israel, United States said no. Brazil, that's the old Bolsonaro crew, and Ukraine abstained. Ugh. Should we be saving jobs as a concept or moving to something better? I mean, look, isn't the entire point of building a technological society and building a society in order to reduce the amount of work? Like, this is the manic and crazed attitude that exists amongst the fascists today, is that if you're not suffering, you're not gaining anything. And, like, why aren't we building a society where everyone can just chill out and fuck each other? Like, why is that so wrong? Like, what's the problem with everyone just having a bunch of free time, enjoying their life, and having as much sex as possible? What's the problem with that? And yet, free time, leisure, and sex are all demonized in this fascist society. Like, it's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable to me. Quan John, gotta drive into the American dream, work 3 part-time, low-end, dead-end jobs, be willing to work 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, work uphill both ways. Yeah. Who cares if it doesn't make sense? America! Yeah. Like, it's manic. It's a manic hysteria at this point. And it literally is the harder you work, the worse it gets. Because the entire structure of the system is self-destructive. And so the harder you work at it, the more it self-destructs. And nobody wants to admit that the best thing for us to do is to stop this. Like, no, work hard at destroying yourself? No thanks. The people who are walking around telling people to just get a job might as well be neo-Nazis at this point. Like, literally, work as hard as you possibly can to destroy not only yourself, but also your children and their entire future and the civilization and the species. Like, what are you, fucking stupid? The answer is obviously yes. Like, the answer is obviously yes at this stage in the game. What do I think about Brazil's recent election? Ding, 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 ding. Fantastic. Fantastic. Lula is actually extremely well positioned now. Like, when Lula got into power the first time, a lot of the countries around him were still controlled by fascist dictatorships and CIA-couped governments, right? Like, there was still a lot of turmoil, and I mean, there is obviously still a lot of turmoil. But since that time, most of the nations around him, like you think Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, Nicaragua, Venezuela certainly, right, have swung to the left. And some of them have become explicitly communist. The leadership has become explicitly communist. And so they are attempting to, and what's exciting is that since the last time Lula was in, these leaders are now attempting to federate, and they're attempting to create a left-wing coalition and a left-wing federation, right, in order to actually protect themselves from the CIA and protect themselves from the neo-Nazis to the north, right? And Brazil is the largest economy on the continent. Obviously, it's the largest landmass, the largest country, and for it to even be a center left government, which Lula was always center left, for him to be for that to happen right now, it's very exciting. It's very exciting. It means that Brazil was already moving towards the BRICS. They were already moving towards China as a economic power. They're like Bolsonaro, for all of your like all of the claims that he's like a boobish like fascist. Well, he's not an idiot. Like, he understands what's good for him. He understands what's good for his buddies. He understands what's good for the business of Brazil. And he sees that America is in collapse and that China's on the ascension. And so he's already moving towards the BRICS. And Lula will continue that, right? That's not going to stop. But the difference, I think, is that Bolsonaro was going to do that for Brazil, whereas Lula might actually look at the rest of Brazil and be like, we should create a federated Brazil that actually attempts to entrench through constitutional means a protection of the citizenry, so that even if fascists take power, they'll face resistance systemically against the worst aspects of fascism. Like, I think it's unequivocally a good thing. We'll see what happens, but I think Brazil's better off with Lula than it is with Bolsonaro. The legislation enables the Ford government to fine the strikers. Yep, $4,000 a day, right? Isn't that the fucking dumbest shit? It's the dumbest shit of life. Hold on, I have one. I have it here. I promise. I've got it here. Oh, well, you already said it, so I don't give a fuck. But it's like, I'm like, here's Mike Schreier actually trying to do something, right? All of the NDP got thrown out, by the way. Like, they got thrown out from the House when they were so disruptive that they got thrown out. Like, this is a clown show, guys. This is a total fucking clown show. This is the type of stuff that you expect to see. Like, here's the line that you'll get from Westerners. I expect to see this from a third world country, not a civilized nation like Canada. That's for you, Ligon D. I said that just for you, bud. I can feel you typing away already. Clarification for Picket Finder. Picket Finder leads you to your local MPP office, which doesn't make sense because why'd one picket at NDP or Lib MPP office? Go to your nearest conservative MPP office. Yeah. No, that's true. Like, fuck these conservatives. Like, fuck them to death. And everybody who fucking votes for them. Like, what an embarrassing group of people. Yeah, an attack on education workers is an attack on all workers. Exactly. Andrei Martinov, AK Smoothie, times 12. What the fuck is happening in chat? Just did a good video on Michael Hudson called Captain Obvious. He introduced a term called fusionism. One of his best videos. Just a shout out from Radio Halifax. Fantastic. This is all you need to know. 377,000 people have died in the war in Yemen, but you won't see one damn Yemeni flag in anyone's bio or I stand with Yemen virtue signals. Yeah. Where's the I stand with Yemen? Huh? Free Yemen. Where's all that? Oh, nowhere. Oh, okay. I actually have a reason to go to the polls. Get to vote on a state constitutional amendment. It's excited. I knew it. I knew it, Lagundi. I knew it. Brown people. Lulu was a founder of BRICS, and he was way better for protecting the Amazon, which Bolsonaro was for its complete destruction. Yeah, I mean, and Bolsonaro called himself an eco-fascist, right? Like, that's what makes Bolsonaro so terrifying, is that he didn't make it a secret. He wasn't like trying to pretend he was doing one thing and then he wasn't doing that liberal thing where you pretend you're one thing and then you do another thing, right? He was straight up just like, I am for the destruction of the Amazon because I am an eco-fascist and poor people should be used as food for the rich. Like, that's Bolsonaro, right? Like, brutal. Just a fucking evil person. And it's pretty telling that even when Lula defeats him, he only defeats him by the thinnest of margins. Like, Lula defeats Bolsonaro by, like, a percentage. Maybe even less than a percentage. Right? Like, propaganda's a hell of a drug, kids. Propaganda's a hell of a drug. Like, people will vote for the devil thinking that they're voting for Jesus Christ. Like, it's really the truth. I have a Palestinian flag, now I need a Yemen flag. At this stage in the game, just get every flag and you're basically there. Just any of the non-Western nations and you're basically set. And there's always a reason, right? You can always point at it and be like, yeah, the Libyan flag, right? For the execution of Lula did not have the level of support he did last time. I mean, I think on the electoral level, but I think internationally, like within South America, the situation is going to be much more favorable for him. Like, yeah. We'll all see how it plays out, right? We'll all see how it plays out. Dan Boxes, good to see you, bud. Homeless in South Texas, but should be back up in Canada soon enough. God bless. Hanging in there, man. All we got is each other. What are you talking about? You're homeless in South Texas? What the fuck are you talking about? I know that you've been traveling around, bud. What the fuck's going on in your life? Well, get back up to Canada. The whole place is blowing up. We could use your help. So the amendment I get to vote on, this is Compton, is whether abortion is strictly banned or at least abortion not be mentioned constitutionally at all. What a fucking clown show, man. What a fucking clown show. Oh my god. Explain it when you make your way to Toronto. Get some coffee. It's fantastic, dude. I look forward to it. It's a date. I'll be there with bells on. So Biden administration weighing sending Haitian asylum seekers to Guantanamo Bay. Just when you thought that Guantanamo Bay was just fading out of our consciousness, hey, maybe let's send Haitian asylum seekers to Guantanamo Bay. That makes total fucking sense. Right? Like, we are demons. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, we've erected, like, hellholes. Literal shitholes where we routinely torture people. Right? Torture is just systemically baked into the system at this point. It's what we do. It's how we are. This is hell. Like, we've manifest hell into the world. Here it is. Anytime anybody starts talking about gulags, I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Guantanamo Bay is still operational. And you think the gulags had anything on Guantanamo Bay? Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, what an embarrassing people we are. Well, the gulags, yeah. The Guantanamo Bay makes sense, though. Right? Yeah. Send Haitians to Gitmo, yeah. Just like when Chief oh, come on. I keep wanting to say executor, but that's wrong. Exorcist. When Chief Exorcist Vladimir Putin calls America the Great Satan, right? Like, here we are, kids. Here we are. Oh, and for those of you who don't know, I love this story. Vladimir Putin, Chief Exorcist. I think this was a Newsweek article. Yes. Putin is appointed Chief Exorcist as Kremlin whips up satanic panic. But is it a panic? Is it a panic, though? Is it really a panic? Or is it just, like, accurate? Is it just like a way to articulate that America's spiritual core has become satanic and demonic to like the very core of it, that there's nothing to redeem. Like, there's nothing to redeem there. That it is just an evil place full of evil people that are interested in, like, opening hell gates and shit. Like, remember when they lit the Gulf of Mexico on fire? The Gulf of Mexico on fire. Like, remember this? Anybody remember this? Like, am I the only one? Like, they're literally opening hell gates, like, in the world, and straight up just like maintaining like evil death prisons where they systemically torture people, right? And now they're opening hell gates. And yeah, BP was on the hook for that. Yeah, they really had to go do an apology tour, and everybody forgot about it before they got bailed out by the government. Yeah, they were really on the hook for that. Like, yeah, right, on the hook, sure. Did their leadership go to jail? Who went to prison? Did BP get nationalized? Did these people spend any time in prison? Like, how many of these people went to jail over this? Is it 0? Oh yeah, real on the hook. Super on the hook. Yeah. Yeah, they definitely made a whole bunch of commercials being like, we're sorry. And we all went, I guess so. And then moved on. Because there was like a Chris Tucker slap or something. Like, for real. Like, this is what happens in American media, right? Oil executives literally open hell gates where demon spirits flood into the world. They go and say, we're sorry. And then the American government gives them $100 billion, which they promptly pocket. And then we're all just like, yeah, we got them. Like, there's no consequences for these guys. These guys can do what they like. Like, these guys can do what they like, right? They probably took the money and just gave it to Jeffrey Epstein to, like, really build a good plaza for them while they go rape children, right? Like, that's probably what they're up to. Jesus Christ. On the hook. So when Putin stands up and says, what is he? But now his Security Council is shifting to the phrase de-Satanization, right? I believe that with the constitution of the special military operation, it becomes more and more urgent to carry out the de-Satanization of Ukraine. And I'm like, well, yeah, all right. Yeah, I'm okay. That sounds fine by me. These people are evil. Like, obviously they're evil. And unrepentantly so. Like, they're not interested. They're not going to have a big come to Jesus moment and then suddenly be like, oh, wow, I've been wrong this whole time. Like, that's not going to happen. Like, Adam's saying the last election was much closer for Lula than the previous election, but Lula received about 7 million more votes than he did in 2002, 2 million more than in 2006. There you go. There you go. Support increases. Well, and the only reason he wasn't allowed to run in the last election is because they arrested him. Remember? Remember how they fucking arrested him? They didn't let him run. Like, literally, Bolsonaro's government arrested the opposition leader and put him in prison. And it was the Supreme Court that had to let him out. Like, that's what happened in the last election. Like, it's so fucked up. It's so fucked up. I'm surprised they don't just assassinate this guy. Like, I'm surprised he hasn't just been shot. Like, that's what I'm surprised by. But I just don't think... I think that they know it's not going to work anymore. That behind Lula is another Lula. And they know it. And if they do that kind of shit, they're really going to kick up the nest. Yeah, from now on, if they arrest me, I'm a hero. If they kill me, I become a martyr. And if they let me go, I become president again. Yeah. According to Brazilian right wing, Lula has an 11-foot yacht. I think you mean an 11-foot cock. We'll see. We'll see how it goes for Lula, man. We'll see how it goes. Hey, remember Greta? So, Greta's kind of swinging hard. It's time to transform the West's oppressive and racist capitalist system. From a climate change campaigner to presenting a new, far-left political agenda against racist capitalism, meet the new Greta Thunberg. The 19-year-old Swedish activist has announced that as well as tackling her usual area of climate action and awareness spreading, she is now throwing her weight behind defeating the West's oppressive capitalist system. Comrade Greta, here we go. Calling for a system-wide transformation at her book launch in London, she claimed that the world's current normal, dictated by the people in power, has caused the climate breakdown. She said, "We are never going back to normal again because normal was already a crisis. What we refer to as normal is an extreme system built on the exploitation of people and the planet." She added, if economic growth is our only priority, then what we are experiencing now should be exactly what we should be expecting. Yeah. Like, good. Good. Everybody on the planet, the only rational position to have at this point is tear down the system of capital. And anybody who's saying otherwise is just like a Nazi. And we could treat them as such. Right? Like your fucking Shapiros and Crowders and Petersons are neo-Nazis. And your Destinies and Vosches are just bootlicking simps for neo-Nazis. Like, fuck all these guys. Fuck all these guys. She looks like she might be moving out of her awkward stage. I don't know, dude. Like, I love Greta. But I think Greta is an awkward stage. I'm just going to put it out there. I think that Greta's just an awkward stage. With all the love I have in my heart for her. With all the love. Ugh. Lula proposes creating Latin American currency to be freed of US dollar dependency. I doubt he'll get the Gaddafi treatment. You doubt it, eh? Yeah, how dare, you're right. No, absolutely. No. You're absolutely right, Greta, how dare you? Like, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you're right, Greta. You're right. No. I'm not going to defend myself. Like, I'm just not going to defend myself, straight up. And Lula should be creating a Latin American currency, right? We're all just joking here, Adam. We're all just having jokes, okay? The Lula creating the Latin American currency to be freed of dollar dependency. Absolutely. No, he absolutely should do that. Like, to me, that's just like the rational choice, right? The American dollar is collapsing, right? It's not going to recover. It's losing its position as reserve currency. We're entering this like multipolar world, which the United States is crying like a little baby all the way through and going to wage as much war as it possibly can, right? Sucking its thumb the entire time, doing nothing to actually plan for it, and instead just plowing headfirst as if it's going to maintain its sovereignty somehow, right? It's just going to become an embarrassing backwater state that spends the next 100 years trying to figure out what happened. And while the rest of the world actually goes forward and creates like rational systems and institutions to protect its own citizenry. And so for Lula to stand up and say, yeah, we're going to create a currency, a Latin American currency, is exactly what I've been saying he should be doing. That they're going to create federated systems. Federated South American systems and ways for the South American people to unify amongst themselves. Right? Like, what is so important for civilizations? One of the most important things for any civilization to do is create unifying policies. This is what makes the West such a disaster, and this is what makes the West's ideas so backwards, is that their thoughts are literally, the best way to build a civilization is to abandon everyone. Like, that it's incoherent on the face of it. That the free market will decide to abandon everyone, right? Like, it's incoherent on the face of it. And if you actually want to build a civilization and you actually want to live in a culture, then you have to have unifying policies. You have to have policies that exist that unify the people. And money is exactly one of these things. That's why all of these fundamentalist individualists are fraudulent from the get, right? They literally don't view money as a system or as a hierarchy of some kind, right? They don't view it that way because they're illiterate boobs who don't know anything. They just talk, right? But if they successfully create a Latin American currency, right, it's going to make it a lot stronger on the world stage, and it's going to unify the people of South America a lot more. I think it's a great idea. They should 100% do it. And I think it would, yeah, it'll give them a lot more clout going into this multipolar world. So instead of like Ecuador trying to trade and negotiate on the world stage, it'll be the federated body of South American states, or whatever they're going to call it, right? So it's like a union, right? Like, that's what's so fucked about these far right guys, especially. They're like, unions are bad, except the Union of the States. That's the America's the greatest because it's a union of states, but your union is bad because of reasons. Dude, I hope that I am alive. I hope that I'm alive to see all of these far-right loser grifter talking points just get massively ridiculed in huge ways. Like, I hope all of our media, all of our film, all of our television treats these people like pariahs. And that the characters who show up saying this kind of stuff are the losers of every single story. Like, I hope that we see, like, National Lampoon Vacation shows where, like Jordan Peterson shows up and gets shown as a complete and total fool. That people like Ben Shapiro show up in our media and just get completely dunked on. Not because we're dunking on them because we're like checkmate or trying to defeat their points, but because we just fundamentally understand that what they're saying is absurdist garbage. And that they just get literally like thrown into pools. And then somebody goes, "Come on everybody, we're all gonna get laid!" And we're all like, "Yes, I believe the fat man, let's go get laid. Haha, Shapiro's in the pool." We don't need to negotiate with these guys. We don't need to checkmate them, because they're not debaters. Their points are foolish on the face of it. I think that the best thing for us to do is drown people, and tell the people that we're drowning that they should swim harder. And if they drown, it's their fault. That's their point. That's what they're saying out loud over and over again. And we're supposed to be like, "That's an interesting point you're saying, narcissistic psychopath. I disagree, though, and we should have a robust debate about why drowning people is wrong." No. These people are narcissistic psychopaths. We should treat them as such. We should make movies that treat them that way. And when they stand up and cry about it, we should point at them and go, "Ha, what a loser." That's what we should be doing to these guys. Ugh. If the U.S. would Belt and Road North and South America, we might have a chance to compete against an ascendant China. But that would mean enriching every country, and the U.S. can't handle that. No. The U.S. is not going to do something like that, right? The U.S. is, like, it does not know how to do diplomacy. Straight up. Like, it doesn't understand the concept of diplomacy, right? It doesn't understand the concept of, do I have something fun that I could just, oh yeah, here's something fun. Like, it literally doesn't understand the concept of diplomacy. That how America does diplomacy is it goes into a country, blows it up, coups the government, and steals their resources, and then says to the government that they just cooed and the people that they just blew up, "Aren't you glad we're here?" That's American diplomacy, okay? So that in no universe are they going to suddenly pivot into, maybe we should treat these people like people and actually make deals as if they're human beings and our neighbors who we care about. That they're never going to do that. Like, I am dead serious when I say that we are going into, that America and Canada and the West generally is going into 100 years of humiliation where we're going to be writing at like PhD Harvard level. Like, people are going to be writing articles about what the hell happened. We're going to spend 100 years trying to figure out what the hell even happened to us. And we're going to live in squalor and shit. We're going to be existing in a perpetual state of warfare with each other until finally we figure something out. And by the time we actually figure out what the fuck happened and figure out that we were completely to blame, like, what has happened in the last 50 years is as bad as what the Nazis did across the board. And we're not even done yet. right? Like if you go to Libya, if you go to Iraq, Afghanistan, if you go to Iran, right? If you go to fucking Russia, if you go to China, if you go all throughout Africa, all throughout South America, these guys aren't going like, you know, capitalism is better than Nazism. Like, they don't see a distinction. Like, I don't know why anyone would think that the Nazi flag and the American flag are not on par with one another, right? It's only Westerners who think otherwise. Because, like, for God's sakes, in Afghanistan, CIA death squads were going through the streets just killing children. Like, you can Google that shit. It's easy to find. Like, our culture is a Nazi culture as far as the vast majority of the world is concerned. And it's going to take us 100 years, if not more, to figure that out as a people. Because right now, the people right at the top are so disconnected and deluded that they actually think they're good somehow. And it's not going to be until those guys are gone, and then the people they're training are also going to be another group of people who are like, but we were so good. We did all the good. Whenever we went anywhere, we were so good. And it's not going to be until they're gone that maybe the next generation is going to go, are we to blame? Is there something going wrong with us? So it's going to be like 100 years of America just eating shit. Just eating dog shit. While the rest of the world moves on. Right? While the rest of the world goes, okay, America, whatever you say. And they look at one another and go, okay, we should trade amongst one another, right? And then everybody goes, yep, that's right. Yep, that's right. And America's just going to be put in a corner. It's just going to be left alone. And no one, like, well, maybe we'll talk to them every so often and be like, hey, guys, do you need nuts? Do you need bolts? Like, and America will go, no, we don't need any. And we'll be like, okay, thanks, America. Like, that's how it's going to go. That's straight up how it's going to go. And, like, you're going to see, like, 50 years from now, you're going to see, like, China and Russia writing letters, the leaders of these countries writing letters to America being like, hey, we would really actually like to help you. Like, it looks like shit's going really bad for you. Can we maybe make a deal? And America's response to that is going to be like, we don't need your help. We're the greatest country in the world. Like, that's what it's going to be like. And it's just going to be embarrassing. Like, we're going to be a very embarrassing country for a very long time. Like, probably, maybe when I die, right? Maybe when I die. So, like, 40 years from now, right? On average, right? 40 years from now. So maybe when I die, America will start to have begun to recognize its failures. But for the next 40 years, we're just going to be an embarrassing group of total fucking sycophantic losers. Honestly, like, waving big flags, talking about how awesome we are, while we're literally eating shit. It's insane. It's insane what we're doing, and how we act, and how we are. Like there is something wrong with us. There's something deeply, deeply wrong with the West. And I think it goes all the way back to the Roman Empire. Straight up. If not earlier. Right? I think you can go all the way back to the Roman Empire and be like, oh yeah, there is something wrong with Westerners. There is something wrong with us. That, like, we do not understand how to be peaceful and negotiate peacefully with one another. We just don't know how to do it. John, good to see you, bud. Ugh. Yeah, that would fundamentally change what the West represents. I think that's exactly right. And the West doesn't represent that kind of peaceful negotiation. Again, like, we literally don't know what diplomacy means. Like, we straight up don't understand the concept. That's why, like, I didn't realize it when I was little. And I watched, like, Star Trek The Next Generation. I didn't realize when I was watching Star Trek The Next Generation how revolutionary that show was in terms of its ideas, right? Like, really, two of the most absolutely revolutionary ideas that exist in media at all exist on Star Trek The Next Generation. The Prime Directive is a policy of non-interference, right? That's in terms of American diplomacy, that is a revolutionary idea. And then the second one being maybe we should talk to people. That dropping bombs as the first thing we do is probably a bad idea. I didn't realize how extremely revolutionary that idea was in terms of American policy, right? Like, when I was a kid, I was like, yeah, of course, talk, right? Why wouldn't you? Right? Why wouldn't you? Because it's just easier to be a Nazi if you're a rich person. Was listening to this good to see you, by the way, Gino. Was listening to this Australian whistleblower who's going to prison for exposing war crimes. Typical, yeah. He says the U.S. will be at war with China in a few years. Yeah, I mean, we know. Like, the U.S. has declared how it's going to do it. Like, and we know. Like, it's not fucking around. Like, we know. Thinking through the unthinkable. This is how they're gonna do it. Right? Like, America is so arrogant and so overt in its intentions. Like, it doesn't pretend. Like, it's not pretending. Like, they outright publish how they're going to do it. That their strategy, and this document, right, Thinking Through the Unthinkable, is the document that really inspired a doubling down on the Belt and Road Initiative. Like, why do you think the Saudi Arabians are building the city of Neom with walls around it? Like, they're building the city of Neom to be a single stretch about 13 miles long, right? It's a single stretch, and it's essentially walls, right, on a single line. And normies look at that and go, what a dumb kind of... And I'm like, nah, they're building it along the rail as walls to protect the tunnels that they're going to build underneath. Like, that's what they're doing. Like, why do you think they're doing that? Because they expect America to go crazy. That's what they expect. And America's strategy is to knock out Chinese sea trade. That the Americans' strategy is not to go to war with the mainland. I think they understand that going to war with the mainland is a nuclear threat, right? So they're trying to just knock China down economically. And their strategy is to knock out their sea trade and to take control of their sea trade. But now that the Chinese are moving into the Belt and Road Initiative, it's all about knocking out the Belt and Road Initiative, right? So essentially what we're going to see in the future is a civilized nation building structures and building infrastructure, and barbarians trying to destroy it. Like, that's the future of the Belt and Road Initiative. It's going to be the Chinese constantly trying to defend and upgrade and upkeep civilization, while the barbarians constantly try to tear it down. And there's just, America will become a barbarian nation. America is a barbarian nation, and it's just going to constantly be funneling as much resources as it can into this barbaric pursuit of total destruction. And it's not going to work, obviously, because they're not going to have a tax base anymore. So they're not even going to be able to pay people to do this. Like, who are they paying to do any of this shit? Right? And as we move forward, like, America's military is going to dwindle because nobody's joining up. Because the only people who are willing to join up in the military now are the extremely desperate and the outright psychopathic. There's 1 billion people between North America and South America. That's a lot of a potential. Too bad we can't see the opportunity. No, yeah, we don't understand that. And, like, so what if there's 1 billion people? That's, like, less than the population of China itself. Like, forget about India, right? Forget about Africa. Forget about, like, the rest of the world, right? Yeah, we blew you up. Now here's the bill. Yeah, exactly. All the U.S. would have to do is finish off Gallon's Gap and build an interstate and rail connecting Panama and Colombia, North and South America. Yeah, it's connected for international commerce, not to mention the connection to the Panama Canal. Yeah, they're not going to do it, though. Seems as though, because that would benefit brown people somehow. Like, America is a country that refuses to pass stuff like universal health care because they think that it would also help black people. Like, and I think that's fundamentally true. That, like, if we were to pass a universal healthcare system, that would also benefit black people, and we can't have that. You think they're going to do anything to help the brown people of South America? Absolutely not. Like, absolutely not. seems as though the pink tide in Latin America is a direct result of the Belt and Road Initiative. I mean, I think you're right, Adam, that like the Belt and Road Initiative is a beacon of hope for leftists and rational thinking in the world, right? That it really is like, oh, we can just trade with one another. We can literally just trade with one another and create deals with one another that are sane and rational without the worship of money involved, and just build up our societies. And the Belt and Road Initiatives stands as a way out for many nations, right? Like, you think Venezuela was trading its oil to America because it wanted to, right? No, it's doing it because it has no alternative. And now the Belt and Road Initiative shows up and it's like, oh, there's an alternative? Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. It's called the Pan American Highway. We have the same thing for railroads too. You can't wait for war with China? I hope you're being facetious, John. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. I think if the Nazis won in the East, they would have transformed into a liberal democracy within a few years and act like they learned their lesson. I guess that's pretty much what happened anyway. Yeah. Nah, just Rome. I don't know, dude. Germany had a moment, right? And is having a moment now. I mean, Italy is back. Well, Italy, Rome, yeah. The U.S. present kind of relationship with North America, South America is not reflective of Belt and Road mindset. We might have infrastructure, but the spirit of cooperation is severely lacking. Yeah. Because, like, the Americans' position is 100%, like, how do we get this for free? Right? Like, if we also have to work, then it's not going to happen. Well, so-called U.S. Canada shouldn't be concerned about being isolated as long as they cut back on all the provocation. State due to how advanced they are and how resource-rich they are. Yeah, they're not going to do that. Like, what are you talking about? That's how we've always interacted with the world. We're not going to cut back on that. Like, we are only going to cut back on that if we have to. Like, that's it. Like, we literally don't have the capacity to move forward. That's the only way. And our go-to is blow the place up and steal their resources. That's our go-to. John, I can't wait for the war with China. Japan attacks from the east and the Kazakhs from the west, and then the Mongols invade and breach the Great Wall. Yeah, okay, all right. You ruined my meme with your factual history. John, adding a little levity. John, the Great Wall, you know, didn't exist at the time. It was built later, in the Ming Dynasty. Hey, Red, how you doing? Good to see you, bud. I haven't seen you in the chat before. The Belt and Road Initiative is the future. For sure it is. And the Americans know it. It's why you never hear about it. Even though it's like, if you don't know about the Belt... Major, good to see you, bud. If you don't know about the Belt and Road Initiative, like if you're thinking about international politics, if you're thinking about geopolitical politics, if you're thinking about global politics, whatever the fuck name you want to use for it, and you're not thinking about the Belt and Road Initiative, then you're not thinking about politics. Like, you're just not. It is the thing that is what is going on in the world today. And I'm more or less of the opinion that a big reason why the Americans are moving forward with the Ukraine war, even though it's a total fucking disaster for them, is because of the Belt and Road Initiative, right? That if you take a look at where the Belt... I need to get an updated map because this is old. This is, I think, from 2012 or something. 2018. That's not so bad. But still, I'd like to update this map. Like, the only connecting line into Europe... Like, why do you think there's all these supply chain disruptions going on? It's because... the sanctions that happened on Moscow cut the chain from Minsk to Warsaw, right? That they can't get goods along the Belt and Road Initiative from Minsk to Warsaw. So, like, this war with Ukraine is a war against China, ostensibly, right? It's not a direct war on China, but it is an economic war. It prevents China from being able to get goods into Europe and trade effectively with Europe. America is terrified. Over the last 10 years, all of the nations of the largest continent, like the largest landmass on the planet, went from being number one trading partners with America to number one trading partners with China, with a couple of exceptions. But like that's a big fucking deal. Like that's a big fucking deal. And right now, the rail from Tehran to Ankara, right, it's not yet completed. I mean, it's been 4 years though, and the Chinese know how to build. That's why I need an updated map. And then you see this rail is not yet completed either, right? So so if this is sanctioned and they can't get goods in this way, and this is incomplete, then all China has left is to get boats to go around the Horn of Africa over to Europe, right? So, which is much more expensive. It's much more expensive to go that way. And like, they're even sending goods up and over and around the fucking North Pole in order to do shit, right? So it's like, they want the rail. The Chinese are absolutely invested into getting this rail going on. And over the next 10 years, you're going to see rail pop up all across Africa. And it's going to happen so fast. It's going to happen so fast, it's going to make your head spin. I think Green Party USA might be able to gain non-duopoly voter support by campaigning to join Belt and Road. After all, US is China's biggest creditor. We can pay down the debt by giving up major ports. Everything you said is one of those things that makes rational sense, Red. But America is not in a rational sense position. Like that's as the hard line that I gotta put on you. Like we are not dealing with a rational group of people who are thinking rationally about how to interact with the world. Like America is a crazed psychopathic lunatic that is incapable of understanding world politics and understanding what's going on in the world. Like if you imagine a rabid monkey with a nuclear bomb, that's America, right? Oh, future tripping? Oh, sure. No, that would be great. I would love that. If America suddenly went, wait a minute, we don't need to blow anything up. Hold on a second, wait a minute. Aren't we all just human beings living in the world as temporal refugees? Randomly generated in this plane of existence, existing here as brothers and sisters of kindred spirits with one another, just trying to do our best and living our own life. Wouldn't it be better for each and every one of us to participate with one another and participate in building a human project through peaceful trade and coexistence and creating gigantic works of projects in order to build the human spirit and then explore not only our own planet and build a planet worth living on, but going and exploring the stars as brothers and sisters together? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'd love to live in that world. For sure. That's not the world we live in. Right? That's not the world we live in. That world is not going to come for another, at earliest, 200 years. Earliest. That's like, we are going to kill ourselves first. Like, the North America is going to blow itself up first. And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy. It's going to look as stupid as you think it's going to look. And, like, we are going to descend into civil distress, civil unrest, the collapse of the currency, a civil war. I don't think we avoid a civil war. Like full-on concentration camps, the purges, the whole thing. Like we're not gonna not do that. Like we're already doing that. Like the concentration camps that exist along the American-Mexican border. All we need is to start putting those people into gas chambers. That's it. Like we're already there. And like places like Guantanamo Bay, places like the black sites that exist in Chicago, right? Like these places already exist. And we've already done this all across the globe. Like we did this all throughout South America in the 70s and the 80s. We've done this all throughout Africa. We've done this throughout the Middle East. Like this is not new. It's just that we haven't done it to ourselves quite yet. And we will. And we absolutely will. Like, we are going to, and so maybe after all of that, maybe after we do this period of overt, crazed internal Nazism, maybe after that, we'll actually begin to go, there's got to be a better way to live than this. There's got to be a better way to live than this. This can't be how we build a society. This can't be how we build a community. This can't be right. And it's especially going to be noticeable because there are going to be countries that are going to have built stable societies, right? For all of our offensives and all of our wars and all of our fighting, like unless we drop the nukes, unless we straight up drop the nukes, like China's not going anywhere. Like it's not going to suddenly screech to a halt and have a big collapse moment. Like that's not going to happen. And for all of the West being like, aha, China's economy is slowing down. Yeah, of course China's economy is slowing down because ours is collapsing. And of course our collapse is having an effect on its economy. Like part of its economy is built into our economy. And so when ours collapses, it's going to slow down. But you know what China's going to do? It's going to go, oh, that tiny section of our economy is collapsed and the West is no longer involving itself. And so we're going to have to spend some time to rebuild that section of our economy. And they're just, in 10 years, it's going to be as if it was not there in the first place. Right? They're just going to move on. And like, yeah, we're going to throw bombs at their boats. Yeah, we're going to have a thing over Taiwan. Yeah, we're going to do all that crazy shit. We're going to force them to direct resources into their military and they're going to have to defend themselves. All of that is absolutely true. And after that's all over, they're going to have a glittering palace on a hill. Like, unless we fucking drop the bombs on them, right? And that's a whole other ball of wax. But they're going to have a glittering palace on a hill because they've built it that way on purpose. And we're going to have a squalor shithole that's in collapse. That's what's happening. And we're not doing anything to prevent it. We're not doing anything to stop it. We're not interested in it. Maybe, when I am on my deathbed, I will begin to see politicians enter the halls of power who are actually talking about building civilization and are serious about it. Maybe. Swirling Dervish, Mad Max. I don't think quite Mad Max. I don't think Mad Max is quite accurate. You want a more accurate version, a vision rather, of what I think the future of America actually looks like? I think you're looking at Cyberpunk. I think Cyberpunk has captured, in essence, the future of America. Like, obviously not like, you know, tech wizardry, which is essentially what it is. Like, literally everybody has like ports in their neck and you can hack into them with like space wizardry and that kind of shit. And like people will have like implants that let them move faster than the Flash and shit like that. Like, no, like that's magic. Like, that's not going to happen. But in terms of the structure of the society, if you watch Edge Runners, if you play the game Cyberpunk, and pay attention to the structures that exist and how they exist and how it all is erected and how everything actually works fundamentally, that is what it's going to be. Like it's going to be Cyberpunk. Like you're essentially going to have feudal kingdoms. Like Arasaka is a feudal kingdom. And neighborhoods will basically be run by gangsters, right? That police forces will still exist, but they'll essentially be private militias and private mercenaries that contract out. Like, your character in Cyberpunk is a for-hire mercenary. That's what you are. Like, people contact you, the police contact you, fixers contact you, gangsters, basically, people who own, not necessarily gangsters, but just the people who own the neighborhoods, the people who have taken control, the lords. The lords of each neighborhood contact you and say, hey, I have this problem, can you murder this person? And you go and you do it. Like that's how the society is going to look. And in terms of like healthcare is delivered completely privatized, education completely privatized, and it's a libertarian nightmare, right? It's a libertarian hellscape, and that is what America is going to look like. And I think that the layer of like technology that's in Cyberpunk is the only like breath of fresh air that exists. That if it wasn't for the technology, like if you literally were just like a dude with a gun and they said, here's this game, go play it, I think that people would throw up. I think people would like delve into nightmare. Like I actually think it would be worse. Like when you play a game like Doom, right? When you play a game like Doom, there's kind of like a joyfulness almost that comes with it, that the grotesqueness of it and the over the topness of it, and you're like literally slaying demons from hell, and so there's this like level where you just can't take it too seriously, where you're just like, and so sure there's like a horror element that's there, but it's like on the same plane as comedy almost, right? Where it's so over the top that it can't be taken seriously. And if it wasn't for the like tech magic and the fact that you're essentially a superhero, like you're essentially a god, you get legs that let you double jump, you get like super speed, you can turn invisible and shit. Like if it wasn't for the fact that you were a god, like if you were just like a normal person in that universe, I think that most players would collapse from the horror. I think that they would just be like, oh shit, this is life. This is I'm like a guy with a gun and I'm essentially training for what civilization is going to be like moving forward. It's crazy. Cyberpunk GITS. I don't know if I know what you mean by that one. 1984 or Best Altered Carbon. Yeah, you're exactly right, Cotton. And what's funny is when I was talking like that, I was thinking about Padre. Because Padre is an interesting character in Cyberpunk, and I love that they created him as a character. He's one of the fixers, so he's one of the lords of Cyberpunk. That he's literally a Padre. He's a I don't know what rank that puts him in, but he's a religious man. And clearly, this section of the city has just decided, instead of being ruled by a gangster or some slick criminal or something like that, some mafia boss or something, we are going to put our power and our focus into this man of God who exists within the church structure. And I love that about Cyberpunk, that it's like, no, the churches still exist and there will still be these kinds of figures, and this neighborhood is going to have that guy like that, but he functionally operates the same because he has to. Because he himself is also trapped within the structure of the system. He can't supersede it. He can't do better. He's trying to make sure that what he does is within this kind of ethos, right? He's trying to make sure that that it makes sense, and he's not just doing things because he's a criminal boss. But at the end of the day, when he contacts you, he's telling you to go kill someone. If you were a normal person in that universe, you'd be living in downtown Detroit. There you go, Red. Like, there you go, man. Like, it's... By the way, John, how is your Nomad female V run? It's going great, John. Boy, it's going great. I love loading that. I love loading her up, man. She's fucking amazing. I've gone all the way into intelligence. I went all the way into crafting as well, but I think I might spec out of that. And then I've got a little bit into just automatic rifles, because sometimes you just like gotta shoot a guy, right? But essentially every interaction is just like, bring up my screen, hack, and then they all die. It's great. I'm having a great time. And she can also turn invisible, so like if things are getting a little dicey, I just turn invisible, wait a couple of seconds, and then just hack, and then they die. The only thing she really struggles with is like boss fights, because the hacks and boss fights are so expensive. And so I spend most of my time running around waiting for my fucking hacks to get back up, which is why I've invested money in my rifle, so that while I'm waiting for that to happen, I can actually do something, right? And I use the smart rifle, so I can like hide behind cover and just shoot wherever and it hits them, which I feel is very wizardry. So she's very wizardly. She's very much like a wizard. Yeah, it's fun. I'm having a great time. It's never even touched Cyberpunk. Put up on the bugginess everyone's talking about. It's better now. It's better now. And I actually think it might even be on sale right now, dude. Like if you've got a system that can run it, easy recommend. Easy recommend. It's a really, really fun game. It's a really fun game. They do a really good job. Really huge character. Like one of the things I really admire about Cyberpunk is it's clear that they really want story and immersiveness to be at the front of it. So you have a lot of like really interesting conversations and a lot of like, and it's all first person. They don't have a third person part. It's all first person. And so they've really invested a lot into animation. So you have these like real moments where there's like a character actually like emoting. And it's not like Grand Theft Auto where it's just like a guy who's like, I tell you what, Jimmy, you gotta do that thing. And, like they've really taken the time to like really make sure everything is charted out. It's great. Have you tried the Drone Companions mod? I have not. I don't think I will. All my mods are spicy. Cyberpunk world seems like it'd be vulnerable to Maoist insurgency. The only thing that kind of exists on that level is the Bart Moss Collective. And what's interesting about the Bart Moss Collective is that you'll do one of their things and you'll end up with this story that you'll read, and it's really close to the mark. Like you'll read it and you'll be like, oh fuck yeah. Like because the Bart Moss Collective is the group that existed like a generation past in the cyberpunk world that was witnessing the collapse of our society into the current society. And so they're articulating that happening. And when you read it, you're like, oof, yeah, that's what's happening. Oof, you're right, Bart Moss. Shit. So it's, I remember the last time I found a Bart Moss thing, I was reading it, and I was like, ooh. And like my stomach just dropped, and I was like, fuck yeah, these guys are calling it. Like, they know what's happening. OG hated the game. It's fantastic now. Yeah, they released it early. They ran out of money. They released it early. What they should have done if they wanted people to not hate the shit out of it is they should have said, we're going to do an early release. This is an incomplete game. We're going to do an early release. 1 million people would have bought it anyway, right? And then what would have happened is a bunch of people would have bought it and would have been like, okay, here are the bugs and here's all this stuff, but it's early release, so of course, right? But instead of that, they presented themselves as if it was a completed game, and that's where they went wrong. And I really do think that they fucked themselves over PR wise, but now like they released Edge Runners, and so now the game is experiencing like 1 million users on at a single time, which is like higher than The Witcher 3 ever had. So like they're winning. Like they're winning. Like they're not losing. Like they just dropped a big patch, and they're also they're doing an expansion. So yep. Bart Moss Collective, those groups in Pacifica, yeah, they're talking revolution. Absolutely. Voodoo Boys, yeah. I'm still pretty, like, I'm going through this run as slowly as possible. So I'm, like, doing, like, literally every single side thing that you can do. And so where am I right now in terms of the main quest? I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. Yeah, I haven't even gone to Pacifica. Yeah. How can I not be down to have a big-ass Militech mech follow you around? It's out of character for me is why, because I'm primarily, like, I'm not stealthy, but I basically go into every single scene and just, like, hack, and they all die. And if one sees me, I just turn invisible and then just hack them. So having a mech going like, I am a mech, here I am, it's just really out of character for me. Just don't, no, it's not how I want to run. It's not how I want to do it. Like, if you're, when I first played Cyberpunk, I really had an idea of how I was going to be in the world. But the truth is that they want you to be a murderer. They want you to be like a psychopathic murderer. Like there is no way to play Cyberpunk that is not kill thousands of men. There's just no way to do it. If you go into the game thinking I'll be super sneaky and like achieve objectives and leave everybody alive, that's not what the game is. The game is literally like, go into the playground, here are the things to kill them. And you can kill them with a sword, you can kill them with your fists, you can kill them with pistols and shotguns and rifles and sniper rifles. You can kill them with wires that you can just flip out from your arms. You can kill them by sneaking up behind them and just breaking all their necks. You can kill them with silencers. You can kill them by hacking them. There's literally a hack that lets you just go ping, and the guy pulls out his own gun and shoots himself in the head. And the hack's name is suicide. You can just hit people with shock rays. You can shoot people with lasers. There's all kinds of ways that you can do it, but the one thing that you can't do is not kill people. So if you're gonna play Cyberpunk, there's no such thing as a pacifist run, right? You're gonna go in there and someone's gonna call you and be like, V, I have a problem. So-and-so has been kidnapped by such and such. V, I have a problem. Such and such has been captured by such a thing. V, I just literally straight up need you to steal some shit. And you're just going to go in there and there's going to be like 10 guys and you're going to kill them with swords, guns, bullets, or magic. And that's what's going to happen. Non-lethal. Non-lethal. It's like the biggest cop-out of life. Non-lethal. Yeah, you are right though, John. Like, but it plays basically the same. Like the non-lethal is essentially the same thing. China's slowing economy was mentioned a bit back. Perhaps in 10 years, when most of the world has a highly significant labor force dealing with long COVID, China may emerge as quite dominant due to its COVID-0 policy, not considering climate breakdown or resource issues, obviously. I'll be interested to see how China pivots from the climate change issues, because it's going to experience climate change differently than the rest of us. It's very low-lying land. It's very low-lying land. So most of its coasts, like, let's just, sea levels rising map. Yeah. I think is this the NASA one? No, fuck you. Come on. Come on! Ah, you guys! What am I doing? What am I looking at here? Is this it? Oh my god. Come on. Sea levels rising. Interactive map. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. No, come on, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Come on, I used to be able to find this stuff in like a second. Why the fuck is this? Can they just build a giant wall, or is that dumb? I mean, that's essentially what, alright, fuck this. I don't give a shit anymore. China's, all of these cities are going to be flooded. And it's unavoidable now. Right? Like, it's unavoidable for them. And a giant wall is essentially the plan for, there are places that are doing that. What do they call it? It's a flood barrier. It's a levee system, right? That is essentially what their idea is. And it's not a stupid idea. And when you think about it, it's something we've already been doing, right? Like we already create levee systems and we already create dikes and things like this. They already, tidal gates, drainage tunnels, right? Like these are ideas and these are thoughts and they're not dumb. The trouble is scale at this point. The trouble is scale at this point. That the infrastructure we currently have is not good enough, right? You can take a look at what happened in Vancouver to see that that's the case. That the levees and the dikes and the systems that we had in place were just overwhelmed. And so the whole place got flooded out. And we're too stupid to figure this out, and so we're just like, oh shit, a flood? What? Like, oh man, 600,000 animals died. Oh well, whoop-a-dee-doo, right? That's just climate. It's a free market. I might actually play this game. I modded Skyrim for so long, I forgot what fun gameplay is. Well, and Cyberpunk has a pretty good modding community too. Like, it's pretty great. It's pretty good. Cyberpsychosis is the best hack. Enemies attack other enemies, then it commits suicide. Yeah. It's quite shocking how China is literally the only one taking COVID as seriously as they do. All these zombie outbreak movies are complete lies. Well, I mean, like, I think that a thing that's got, like, we don't really know what long COVID's all about. We don't really know what COVID's going to do. And the more we learn about COVID and the more we learn about long COVID, the more we realize how bad it actually is. Right? Like, it's debilitating. Like, it's serious. And I think that China is like, yeah, if you don't know what something is, you should probably not let it spread through your borders. And I feel like that's just wise, right? Like, we don't know how this is going to interact. We don't know how this is going to be. So we should probably not be doing what we're doing. But we're too stupid for that. We got to keep capitalism going, don't you know? We got to buy sweaters. You got to smell smoothies. You gotta go sell your Timmies. If you don't sell your Timmies, how are we gonna make the economy keep going? Not the precious economy. No. The less lethal mods and hacks are for the Cyber Psycho missions, so you get them taken in the right ending for that mission line. Yeah, that's correct. There's also a lot of stuff in... There's a lot of stuff that is quote-unquote non-lethal that I'm like, how is this non-lethal? There's one, like, I'd say my core ability is shock. And it's literally just like you overcharge their cyberware. So you're just like, and it explodes them. Every time it's just like, and it blows them up. And it's non-lethal. I'm like, okay. And you can just keep doing it to them. It's like super cheap. You're just like... And then they're on the ground going, instead of like being roasted. And I'm just like, okay, you say so. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So this live stream brought to you by Cyberpunk. At least watch Edge Runners. Like, if you're not going to play the game, at least watch Edge Runners. Edge Runners does a really, really good job of, first of all, being, like, a really fucking rad show. Like, just straight up, just, like, rad show. Big, giant robot people blowing up shit. Like, nudity, death, destruction, cool shit happening all the time. Like, it's for adults, and it's a good fucking time. And so, easy recommend. Easy recommend. It's a show that understands that the person that's watching it is an adult. And that's so rare these days. It's so rare to watch a show that's actually like, oh, it's an adult person with a brain that's watching this. We should actually present something that's for adults. And usually when I watch something, there's like a moment where it's like, oh, they think we're kids. Like, that they think we're little babies. Like, my absolute favorite is like, we're gonna set this entire sequence in a strip club, but there's not gonna be any nudity. And I'm like, oh, so you think we're children? Like, you think that we're kids being like, oh, a strip club, like, no, fuck you. You said it there. Be a goddamn adult. Fuck you. Very straightforward. Sponge City strategy looks promising too, but it'll be constant adaptation, which can oftentimes have limit. See how Bangladesh transitioned from growing rice to fish due to rising tides. What are you talking about? Sponge City. Like, literally their goal is to like have sponges that just soak it all up? Wouldn't that be fucked? Just like walls of sponges that the sea levels come up and they just soak it all up? Anything counts at this point, dude. Yeah, fiscal update 2000. I actually have that here, Oddity. I actually have that here. What it is it's in... Oh, where did I have this? Come on. No, that's Greta. Get out of here, Greta. Come on, I had it. I did have it. You know what? Fuck it. You're right. You're right. The idea is that they put in a pandemic, a pandemic freeze on student loan interest, and they've literally realized that if they tried to re-implement it, not only would they probably lose power and lose support amongst their base, but if they tried to implement it again, it would immediately plunge everybody into a recession. Nobody can afford to pay that back. They should literally declare the whole system a wash. They should eliminate student debt. They should get rid of the student debt system. They should just integrate the education system into the same system that we have for other education systems and make post-secondary school free, right? Just, a jubilee, all that kind of stuff. Oh, you guys, you're calling for the draw. Seraphim, good to see you. For those of you who are new in the chat, you got to pick a number between 1 and 10. And David Lynch, the great and powerful, is going to pick a number for you. That's right. David Lynch, champion of the world, king of all.
Here we go for today's number. It's November 3, 2022.
Swirling Dervishin was a 3.
10 balls.
I hope it's a 3 for you, bud. I hope we got it.
Each ball has a number.
Each ball has a number.
Numbers 1 through 10.
Numbers 1 through 10.
Swirl the numbers.
My absolute favorite time. He says swirl the numbers. I love it. Pick
a number.
Here we go. 3.
Today's number is
3.
10.
10. David, everybody misses. We're all losers today. Wah, 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 wah. You know what, though? 7 plus 3 is 10. So, mocked, you Swirling and Gino win. 8 plus 2 is 10. So, Ligandizi and Oddity. Cotton. I don't know, bro. Bit late in the game, bro. 6 plus 4. So John, you, Seraph, see, this is what communism's about. You know, you as an individual didn't win, but together, each and every one of you won. Together. Right? Everybody got it, right? John plus Seraphim, John plus Radio, Ligandizi plus Oddity. We got Mocked plus Swirling, Mocked plus Gino, right? No, this is how it works, goddammit. We're communists, goddammit. If we can't win apart, we win together. A victory for one is a victory for all. And you know what, Cotton? We'll trust you for some reason. Yeah, we're all winners. Yeah. Oh, Cotton, there's a little part of me that hopes you're just cheating. I do. I hope you're cheating, dude. I hope that like you literally wait for the number to be drawn and then you put the number in. And I literally don't care. Like I literally don't care. Like if I found out that you were cheating, I'd be like, that's a little sad. You know, like what are you cheating at this for? But on the other hand, if I found out that you were cheating, I'd be like, okay, whatever. Like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care at all. It wouldn't make me think worse of you. Communism? I didn't come here for fucking communism. I'm here for fucking video game talk. Don't you think that this is the greatest headline? Oh, I didn't realize that this is... Hold on. I want to bring up the whole fucking thing with this. This is so fucking great. Like this headline, dude. Yeah. For the sake of their financial future, young people should leave Toronto and Vancouver. Wow. Just get the fuck out of the cities. Two of the biggest cities are an affordability trap for young adults. Without six-figure incomes or well-off parents, anyone in their 20s and 30s has to question whether they have a future in Vancouver and Toronto that includes home ownership. You can put yourself... Like, I love it. They're just getting to a point where they're outright just saying to you, we fucked this up so bad, we have no plan, just get the fuck out of the cities. Right? They're just admitting it. They're just straight up admitting it, where they're just like, oopsie-doo. Yep. I love that John's defending Conton here. Like that, like you've got a stake in it. It's my favorite thing that's happened. Like John and Conton have like a side hustle going on. Yeah, you'll pick the 10 and I won't. And then if he brings it up, I'll defend you. Don't worry about it. And then we'll split the winnings, okay? Like, they are straight up saying to us, get fucked. Leave the cities. Get the fuck out of here. You do not... Yeah, I was promised an Amazon pod. Yeah. They should double the GST tax credit permanently, not this 6-month shit. Hey, you know what they should do? Here's my idea that I'm always going to say forever. They should open up a wicket at a Service Canada that lets anyone over the age of 18 walk into and be like, hello, I do not have a home or a place to live. And then we go, okay, and then turn to the people who are hoarding the houses, right? So talk to the guy with 1,000 houses and say, we're going to take one of those and give it to this guy. And if this guy goes, but I earned that job, we'd say, shut the fuck up, you loser, you fail son, go get a real job, and give the house to that person. But John, won't that collapse the economy? Correct. Like... John, if you fire a rocket into the Death Star, it'll blow up. Correct. Like, yes, you did it. You figured out my entire strategy. That headline looks like, young poors should go die in the woods. Yep. And I mean, what's fucked up is it is what's going to happen. Like... I talk to people who are under the age of 30 like all the time, and they're literally just like, yeah, I'm leaving. Like, we're literally eviscerating this place. And what's the response from our leaders? We're going to increase immigration by 53,000%. Right? Get a whole bunch of poor people, get a whole bunch of poor immigrants into the cities who will do all these shitty jobs, who will live 10 people to a unit, right? And do all the service jobs for us. Like, that's what they're doing. Tanky Chiana Simping? What? What's going on over there, Mark? You doing okay? You having a good one? You doing okay? Trudeau tells Ford use of notwithstanding clause is wrong and inappropriate in call. Yeah, that'll show him. That'll do it. Right? You shouldn't do that, Dougie. That'll convince him. Like that's how we convince that's how we convince fucking narcissistic psychopaths not to do stuff, by shaking our fingers. Oh, Tanky China Simping Loner Box. I don't even know who this Loner Box person is. Like, I don't give a fuck about these guys. Like, honestly, like, one of the things I think about all the time is, like, am I going to do debate broism? Am I going to have, like, debates with people? Am I going to go, like, talk to Destiny or this kind of stuff? And the answer is fucking no. I'm genuinely disinterested in hearing what these losers have to say. Like these people suck. Their position literally is we should destroy ourselves and the species on purpose. That's literally their position. And it's fucking embarrassing. Across the board. And their position always comes down to the system of capital is more important than life itself. Right? And that's true if you're just a neo-fascist Nazi in the open or Destiny. It's the same position. That Destiny will tilt his head and go, oh, poor people, oh. But when it comes to dismantling the system of capital, he'll still sucks that cock. He still takes it. Right? Because he's a fucking loser that's never had a real job. Right? His whole thing has been, when I was 14, I played StarCraft, and then I took all that money, put it into investments, and now I do this. Like, I don't know why people listen to this guy. He's never worked a day in his fucking life. He's extremely incompetent. And the same story with Vosh. And the same story with fucking Shapiro and Peterson. These people are losers. Their entire existence is predicated on you doing all the work for them while they do fucking nothing and they tell you how to live your life. What the fuck? Why does anyone pay attention to these people? Like, why does anyone pay attention to these people? They couldn't be bigger losers if they tried. They couldn't be bigger losers if they tried. Ugh. 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 Oh, isn't this great? Engineers developed a breakthrough method to generate hydrogen gas in one-step process. The method requires only visible light and no external heating. Hydrogen sulfide, infamous for its aroma of rotten eggs, is known to be highly poisonous and corrosive, especially in wastewater applications. Petrochemical plants and other industries make thousands of tons of the gas every year as a byproduct of various processes that separate sulfur from petroleum, natural gas, coal, and other projects. Now, Rice University engineers and scientists have devised a new way for such petrochemical industries to turn the noxious gas into a high-demand hydrogen gas. Rice engineer, physicist, and chemist Naomi Hallis and the team have created a method that derives energy from light and employs gold nanoparticles to convert hydrogen sulfide and sulfur in one step. Like, we're literally going to run our society on sulfur. Let's just admit it. Let's just admit it. Like, let's just admit that what we're trying to do is open up a hellgate for our Dark Lord to rule over us. Like, come on. Why are we pretending anymore? We're literally creating like a sulfur-based society. We're gonna cloud the sky, right, to protect ourselves from UV radiation, blocking out the sun so that we can, and opening up hellgates and shit. Like, come on. Come on. Like, this isn't even like a fantasy novel. Although it sounds like a fantasy novel. Like, it just seems to me, it just strikes me that we might be actually trying to turn this place into hell. Seems like what we're trying to do. Yeah, because we got piss poor education, can't recognize pseudo-intellectualism. No shit, eh? All you have to do is talk like this and make your points very calmly, and when people call you a fraud, you go, "Now, sir, that is disrespectful." Right? Sam Harris figured that out. Like, all you got to do is talk a lot, sound like you know what you're talking about, say it with gusto, right? And you can be an illiterate boob, like they fucking are. Doing the same thing, but with market money, mutual funds, guaranteed income. Yep, this is hot. I love finding out that we're harnessing the power of farts. It's the power of farts, dude. Oh yeah, fucking this. This thing. Right? Like, I straight up don't think he's even trying to not be, you know? We need to pay attention to what the Chaos Dragon has to say about the nature of our lives. And if we don't pay attention to the Chaos Dragon and the disorder that it will bring upon us, we will be undone. The thing that every young man needs to do is focus on his internal self and not pay any attention whatsoever to what's going on in the world. And by harnessing his own true internal self, you too can become the greatest of all things. Buy my book. We'll see who cancels who. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, he's not even trying to pretend. Like, yeah, no word of a UBI on the stupid budget as expected. Yeah, what'd you think, Oddity? Like, what'd you think? What, you think our owners care about us? What? Come on, bud. UAE believes the oil industry is in decline mode. Crude oil is in decline mode in the long term, OPEC heavyweight, the United Arab Emirates, says. To assume oil is going to be there forever is wishful thinking, the UAE's energy minister, Suhail al-Mazrouei, said at an ADIPEC energy conference as carried by Bloomberg. Oh my God. Oh, I'm suffering. I need some water. No matter how much we defend it, it's in decline mode, said the official from the UAE, one of the most influential members of OPEC and a major crude oil exporter. Earlier this week, OPEC presented its annual world oil outlook at ADIPEC, in which it forecast that demand for oil would continue to grow all the way through 2045. Oil is expected to retain the largest share in the energy mix, accounting for almost a 29% share in 2045, the cartel said. I love it, the cartel. In OPEC's view, all major fuel types, with the exception of coal, will see demand growth through 2045. Moreover, OPEC said that the global oil sector would need a cumulative investment of $12.1 trillion in the upstream, midstream, and downstream through to 2045, equating to over $500 billion each year. OPEC's rosier outlook on oil demand is in contrast with projections from other forecasters and analysts who see the early 2030s as the possible time of peak oil demand. Like, at least they're fucking saying it out loud. At least they're just like, yeah, oil, it's gonna go down, right? It's gonna go down. Have a good one, radio. Have a good one, bud. Ugh. Get out of here. Bank of England expects UK to fall into longest ever recession. I just love this. And the way that I read these things now is not like Bank of England is predicting. It's like Bank of England promises. Like, the rich are promising recession. They're not expecting it. Like, this is the linguistic shift that I need people to take on board. They're not sitting there being like, well, we're taking a look at the forecast and we're seeing all the lines and doing all of this, and we anticipate that the natural flows of the universe have, like, they're not like soothsayers that are seeing over time. Like, they're promising it. They're saying, yeah, there's going to be a recession because we want all the money and we don't have any intention of giving any of the money to you. So it's going to be a recession. So it's not an expectation, right? It's not a prediction. It's a promise, and it's a promise that they're going to make good on. That they are completely fine. Like, the rich and the powerful and the wealthy are completely fine with plunging their societies into recession if it means they get all the money and you don't get any whatsoever. Like, that's literally what is going on. And so anybody who's reading this being like, oh, the fucking idiots that say that, oh, capitalism is the natural system, you can't do anything about it. Capitalism's the natural system, and if you mess with that, you better be careful, right? Like the fucking dumbass idiots that they are. Well, these people are suckers. Because the rich people, like, if they didn't want there to be a recession, there wouldn't be one. You know how you'd prevent a recession? You'd take the money and you'd spread it throughout the people. And then the people would spend that money. And then the people that they spent that money on would also turn around and spend that money. Then those people would spend money. And then they would spend that money and they would build a solid economy. Right? And if the system was as such so that the money just kept going around instead of pooling into little kind of things, oh, suddenly you'd have a fucking economy. Oh my God. Right? That's how you'd actually build an economy. So it's not an expectation, it's a promise. Koopy. I love it. Hedge fund giant Elliott warns looming hyperinflation could lead to global societal collapse. Again, a promise, right? Not a prediction, a promise. Investors should not assume they have seen everything. That was from executives at lead hedge fund Elliott Management, who warned that the world is heading towards the worst financial crisis since World War II, rather. Oh my God, I need to zoom this up. In a letter sent to investors and seen by the Financial Times, the Florida-headquartered firm told clients that they believe the global economy is in an extremely challenging situation which could lead to hyperinflation. Elliott did not respond to MarketWatch's request for comment. The firm, led by billionaires Paul Singer and Jonathan Pollock, told its clients that investors should not assume they have seen everything, because they have been through the peaks and troughs of the 1987 crash, the dot-com boom, and the 2008 global financial crisis, and previous bear and bull markets. They added, I love this, dude. I love this. They're literally just listing the complete and total failures of capitalism, just casually. Yeah, we know you guys have seen the 1987 crash, the dot-com crash, and the 2008 global financial crash. You know, all the crashes, 3 crashes in a lifetime, completely normal, but the worst is yet to come. They added that the extraordinary period of cheap money is coming to an end, and has been made possible a set of outcomes that would be at or beyond the boundaries of the entire post-World War II period. The letter said the world is on the path to hyperinflation, which could lead to global societal collapse and civil or international strife. They estimated that markets have not fallen enough yet, and equity markets could drop more than 50% would be normal, adding that they couldn't predict when that would happen. The S&P 500 has dropped 19% from its peak at the beginning of the year. Elliott executives warned clients that the idea that we will not panic because we have seen this before does not comport with the current facts. They blamed central bank policymakers for the current global economic situation, saying they had been dishonest about the reason for high inflation. They said lawmakers had shirked responsibility by blaming it on supply chain disruption caused by the pandemic instead of loose monetary policy imposed 2 years ago during the COVID-19 peak. The FT reported that the hedge fund is posting 6.4 returns so far this year and has only lost money for 2 years in its 45-year history. You got to end with that just because it's like, yeah, look, these guys know what they're talking about, right? Like, at least someone's out there. At least someone's out there in some position being like, yeah, you guys are losers. Like, you fucking illiterate morons are collapsing the global economy. But the thing is that they know. Like, this is the thing about these hedge fund guys, right? They're releasing that kind of stuff and they're being like, well, this is how we think. But the reality is that the rich know. They're very aware of what they're doing. They're completely fine. They know that the next collapse is coming. That they know that the quote-unquote Great Reset is coming, right? They're well aware of it. They're fine with it. They don't care that it's going to be feudalism. To them, that's a win. Oh, you mean I get to be a king? Oh, great. Like, straight up. Yeah, don't ever think that the rich care about the lower classes. Absolutely. Corporations making record profits seems more like robbery than a recession. Yeah. If you ask the CEOs about it, they're like, we will not apologize for successfully stealing from you. They're completely fine with it. Like, they don't care. And, like, anybody who's sitting there being like, oh, we're all in this together, like, you're a fucking chump. Like, unbelievable to me. Oh, let's talk about Twitter for just a second. I tend to purposefully avoid Twitter talk because I think it's just a fucking train wreck trash fire. Like, get off Twitter. Like, I don't know why anybody would continue using this fucking train wreck of a thing. Like, just stick Elon Musk with the bill. Get the fuck off Twitter. Stop paying any attention to it. It's essentially 4chan now. Like, use of the N-word went up 500% the day Elon Musk took power. Like, come on, guys. Wow, a guy that was raised in South American apartheid is a total fucking racist? Who knew? Big fucking shocker. That when these guys talk about free speech, what they're talking about is the ability to say the N-word. That's what they're talking about exclusively. They don't care about free speech like we should be able to talk about communist ideas. Like, they don't care about that. They care about the freedom to be able to spread around Nazi propaganda and say the N-word. That's what they're fucking talking about. And Elon Musk is case in point. Absolutely proof positive to that case. Right? He went in, took over Twitter, and now, like, Racism is spreading. The usage of racist rhetoric has spiked, massive increase, right? Like Kanye West is back on Twitter spouting his anti-Semitic shit. Like, where do you think this all goes, guys? Like, where do you think this all goes? Right? You think this? You think that the good ideas beat the bad ideas, like the fucking naive loser Joe Rogan says, right? You think that if we platform the Nazis and listen to the racists and all this kind of stuff, and then talk about the good ideas, that all the racists and the Nazis will be like, that's a good point, you know? Yeah. Twitter is poison. Yeah. Fuck Twitter, dude. Like, fuck these people. Like, unbelievable. Anyway, that's literally all I'm gonna say about Twitter. I think it's just like absolutely fucking bullshit. We already talked about Mark Schreier. Oh yeah. Canadian grocery chains report record high profits as people struggle to afford food. The system's collapsing, here it comes. The system's collapsing. Canadian supermarket chains make significant profits in the last quarter of this year as Canadians struggled to keep up with soaring grocery costs, according to hunger advocacy groups. Some of the largest industry players, such as Loblaws, Sobeys, and Metro, have reported a significant increase in revenues, up to 31%, data from the Toronto Star revealed. Over the same period, thousands of vulnerable Canadians have continued to grapple with food insecurity and inflation, both of which were exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Advocacy organizations like Food Share have called out what they perceive as blatant inequality, adding that the government should take action to help steer the private sector in a more equitable direction. Food insecurity has increased pretty significantly. We've never seen anything like this before, Food Share Executive Director Paul Taylor told the Toronto Star. We've been advocating for a long time that the government needs to take issues like food insecurity and poverty seriously. These corporations are making major profits while people are hungry. According to a recent study, an estimated 104,000 people in Toronto alone visited food banks during September, and the numbers keep rising. Countrywide, food bank visits have increased by up to 51% this year, suggesting that COVID-19 has had devastating consequences on food security across the provinces. The study also revealed that income and social assistance rates have failed to keep pace with inflation, pushing many Canadians below the poverty line. Generally speaking, we are asking Canadians to pay more for food relative to income, Sylvain Charlebois, director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University, said in an interview with The Star. The problem of the last decade is that we haven't seen salaries go up that much for many, many groups. Organizations like the Toronto Food Policy Council are calling on grocery chains to help redress the balance by reinstating pandemic pay and providing gift cards to those in need. But companies like Metro said much had already been done to keep prices as low as possible. See, they're just happy to lie to you. Adding that they were often not fully passing the cost of some increases incurred. Like, they're just happy to lie to you, right? They'll say that shit with a smile on their face. If prices continue to climb at their current rate, the average Canadian family could soon be paying more than the $12,000 a year in groceries, representing an increase of more than $400 from 2019. With an added risk of shortages, remote Indigenous communities in northern Canada could also be left increasingly vulnerable to food insecurity as the pandemic rages on. Like, I mean, what do you need, man? Like, what do you need? Like, this shit is unbelievable, eh? Like, just like... And these shit eaters are completely happy, grinning with shit all over their face, telling you that they're clean. Like, literally just like, yeah, we're doing our best, keeping prices as low as we possibly can, you know, even though we're posting the largest record profits we ever have. Like, what, like, how fucking stupid do these people think we are? I mean, obviously they think we're stupid. And near as I can tell, we are, right? We're not trying to stop any of this. We're not trying to do any of this shit, right? Like, for fuck's sake, like, unbelievable. Stop going through the caches. Just stop going through the caches. I'm so goddamn glad I never got into Twitter. Yeah, thank the Holy Ghost. I never got into Twitter. Like when I was trying to spread this stuff around, I just always knew that Twitter was just a bullshit cesspool. It's just so fucking horseshit on the face of it. Like it sucks. I hate it. It sucks to interact with. It sucks to try and figure anything out. It sucks to try to like have conversations on. The whole thing sucks. It's a shitty experience. It's structured to be shitty on purpose. And I've always hated it. So I'm just glad that like all I've ever done with Twitter is just like throw my shit up there. And I don't pay attention to it. I don't care how. For all I know, I have 100,000 followers on Twitter, and I just don't fucking pay attention because it's just a piece of shit app that I hope collapses, and I hope that nobody uses it. Yeah, we overproduce food so that people cannot eat. We build houses so that people cannot avoid the elements. Yeah, like we're a backwards people. We're a backwards people in almost every regard. Like pick an issue, just pick an issue at random. And we are backwards. Like we're absolutely ass backwards about it. And if we're not completely ass backwards, we're doing everything we can to become ass backwards about it. Like we're completely not interested in helping anybody. We're completely disinterested in building a stable society. We're completely disinterested in building a society that works for anybody. Let alone the rich. Like this is the best part about it. Is that the society that these people are building isn't even going to work for them. That they are going to be full of misery and anger and despair about the society that they've built for themselves. Because they're going to have to be constantly surrounded by security forces. They're never going to have friends. Every interaction they actually have is just going to be commodified, right? Like their marriages are going to be commodified. Everything, everywhere they go, it's going to be constantly dealing with the commodified nature of their life, right? These people are going to be fucking miserable. They're going to be fucking miserable. And it's just like, and this is what they're fighting for. This is what they think they want. There's even a SpongeBob episode addressing Twitter, one of the newer ones. Are they still making SpongeBob? I can't believe it. SpongeBob will never die. Oh yeah, here's from the Jacobin. I'm gonna read this one because the Jacobin's really good. The last article I read from Jacobin was really good, and I really like Luke Savage actually. Ontario's right-wing government is launching a draconian attack on workers' rights. Canadian workers have a constitutional right to strike. Conservative Ontario Premier Doug Ford is blatantly trying to violate that right for the province's education workers. In a landmark 2015 decision, Canada's Supreme Court ruled by a margin of 5-2 that the right to strike is constitutionally guaranteed by the country's Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That decision was rightly recognized as a historic victory for the labour movement. Unfortunately, the rights protected by Canada's Constitution often come with a glaring asterisk attached in the form of something called the Notwithstanding Clause, a provision in the Charter that empowers provincial legislatures to override certain portions for 5 years if they dislike rulings made by the courts. Effectively, this means that some basic rights can be frozen if a provincial government is sufficiently contemptuous of them. Prior to the election of Doug Ford's Conservatives in 2018, no Ontario government had ever invoked the Notwithstanding Clause. For the past several years, however, Ford and his cabinet have wielded it several times as a blunt instrument in pursuit of their agenda, either by using it or threatening its use. Earlier this week, Ford's government made clear its intentions to set another sinister precedent, namely invocation of the Notwithstanding Clause to impose a contract on tens of thousands of education workers represented by the Canadian Union of Public Employees. In bargaining with the government, the union's demands have been both straightforward and reasonable. Its 55,000-strong membership, which includes librarians, custodians, and other school staff, earns an average of only $39,000 a year and is asking for a salary increase of just over 11%. Faced with this demand, Ford's government has responded by offering meager 2% raises paired with its cuts to sick days. With inflation running around 7% and food prices soaring, It's less an offer than a slap in the face, and the union has been eminently justified in rejecting it. As things stand, however, Ford's government appears determined to use every tool at its disposal to impose a contract and prevent CUPE members from acting on an overwhelming strike mandate registered earlier this month. To that end, it on Monday introduced legislation that's almost certainly unconstitutional and says it's prepared to invoke the notwithstanding clause regardless in order to get its way. If the union's bullish response is any indication, the right-wing ideologues who populate Ford's cabinet government may have miscalculated. They didn't miscalculate. These people are fucking fascists. They're too stupid to calculate. Despite the government's threats, CUPE has defiantly announced that its members will stage a massive walkout this Friday, compelling many schools throughout the province to close. CUPE Ontario President Fred Han has made clear that the union will proceed with the walkout regardless of whether the government tries to force its members back to work. Telling the Toronto Star, if that bill passes before Friday, it doesn't matter. If they say it's illegal to strike, then we will be on political protest. He's also indicated CUPE's readiness to absorb the potentially steep financial cost of any walkout, which, thanks to the fines proposed in the government's recently introduced legislation, could amount to as much as $220 million per day. The Ford government's draconian behavior has earned condemnation from across Ontario's labour movement, drawn sharp criticism from the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, and notably been criticized by Labour's International Union of North America, the biggest union to endorse the Conservatives in this summer's provincial election, and a central part of their strategy to rebrand as a pro-worker party. So much for that. Encouragingly, the union's own response has been already appeared to have some effect in shifting the government's posture. Regardless of what transpires in the coming days, Ford has made clear his willingness to push the limits of legal and constitutional norms in order to bludgeon workers. By threatening a walkout in defiance of his back-to-work legislation, CUPE members are thus defending not only their own rights, but those of every Canadian. They're also underscoring the basic truth that the final backstop of such rights is ultimately democratic action rather than reliance on the courts. As labor historian Larry Savage put it, counting on the courts to protect labor rights was always risky, but if governments are going to start using the notwithstanding clause to override charter rights, legal strategies become even less effective for the movement. Political action is the way forward. Yeah, fuck Ford, man. Like, fuck these guys. Fuck anybody that ever voted for them. They're embarrassing. If you find out that somebody voted for Ford in the last election, spit on them. Just spit on them. They're losers. Like, literally roll your eyes and walk away. Like, look at their stupid Bugattis and their stupid little vehicles and just be like, oh yeah, you're a loser, and walk away. Stop buying into these fucking losers. Like, it's unbelievable. I can tell it's greedflation because local organic grocery delivery service that I use and used to work at has prices near on par or cheaper than the big grocers when it used to be much more expensive. Yep, that's starting to happen. I'm noticing that at my workplace. Like, I work at a place that sources locally, right? And it used to be much more expensive, but now it's kind of on par, right? So what's happening? The psychopaths are raising their prices, jacking up prices wherever they can, and the local producers are keeping everything the same. Yeah. Canada, we have a moral duty to spread democracy through bombs. Also Canada, yeah. But, yeah, we can't resolve this because we can't bomb our own citizens. Like, come on. That's the only reason why the Trudeau government's a bit like, I wonder what we should do, because there's no one to bomb. Right? They're not going to bomb their own constituents. Right? They're not going to bomb their own citizens. Yet. Right? So, like, yeah, of course we're kind of like, about it. Because our only solution is violence, ever. Like, what are we supposed to do? Who are we supposed to shoot? Like, who are we supposed to bomb? Like, if you're Justin Trudeau, who are you supposed to bomb? Okay, Crisis 2.0, when? Message retracted. That wasn't for us, was it, bud? That wasn't for us. Yeah. Oka crisis 2.0. I feel like we're there, dude. I feel like we're there. Like, $4,000, Canadian bill would fine workers $4,000 for each day they strike. Like, what are you even talking about? Like, what are you even talking about? Like, this guy's a loser. Like, just, we genuinely need to have a very serious conversation with one another, very openly, about how did we elect such a massive failure? How did such an enormous failure become the premier? And who are the enormous failures who are supporting this enormous failure? And if anybody tries to say he's not a failure or pretend like that, we snicker at them, say, okay, boomer, and cut them out of the conversation completely. Because we don't need delusional losers in a very serious adult conversation. Like, all they're going to try to do is gaslight and pretend, like, go get a job and all that kind of stuff. No. We need adults to have an actual and adult conversation that's very, very serious, asking a very serious conversation. How did we elect this man? How did we create a group of people who thought that it was okay to support this man? How do we prevent these people from gathering and electing anybody else? And how do we prevent people like this from existing in our society at all? These are very, very serious conversations. Like, there is a powerful enough force in Ontario that is attempting to destroy the province. It's attempting to destroy itself, and it's happy to do so. That's a very serious, glaring red light that we should probably have very serious conversations about. My theory is that the idea of allowing people to have this much wealth, to have disparate amounts of wealth, is creating a psychosis. And that the people who are gathering that level of wealth are incapable of rational thinking any longer. And so the solution is to remove the wealth. Because if you remove the wealth, you'll remove the psychosis. And that's not just a theory. Anytime we've done a study on people who accrue more and more wealth, the more wealth you have, the more detached you become. The more incapable you become of understanding what's going on in the world around you, and the less you care about others. You lose the capacity to have empathy because you no longer need it. Everybody becomes your servant. You can literally just throw money at people and tell them to do things for you, and they will. And if this person won't, then you just find another person who will. And if a person is critical of you, you can literally cut them out of your life and create a bubble existence where you never actually need to be a neighbor. You never actually need to collaborate or cooperate. You can just create a corrosive, toxic environment in which you are the prince of it. And so when it comes time to have, like, conversations about what to do on a societal and collective level, you have these toxic parasites who are narcissists and believe that everyone should subserviate themselves to them. Like, we have to eliminate the wealth disparity in the society in order to get rid of fascists like this. Like, we have no alternative. Like, what's the alternative? I know there's a book about psychopathy in the ruling class, but I don't know the name. I got one. It's called The Bible. Ayo, swish. Read your Bible, kids. Yeah. I know I'm saying that flippantly, but read your Bible. Like, this is my favorite thing that's happening in the society, is that there are these overt narcissistic frauds walking around, and I'm talking about people like Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, who pretend as though they actually care about the Torah or about the Bible, when the truth is that not only are they completely illiterate, like, they've never actually read the thing. Like, obviously. Jordan Peterson certainly has never read the Bible. He has no idea who Jesus Christ is. Like, that's obviously the truth, right? If all you did was cracked open the Bible and read Matthew or Mark or Luke or John, you don't need to read all four. And if all you did was just do like a cursory, like, speed run, just like literally like, and took like 30 minutes, right? And read one of these books, you would recognize instantaneously that this man's a fraud. And he is. He's a fraud. Like a total fraud. To me, it's like the funniest thing that's happening in the society. You got these people walking around talking as though they're experts, or they care about religion, or they're actually Christians, that they actually, like, they go to church, right? That's the best part. These people actually take a day and go to a building to worship someone they do not give a fuck about at all. That's the funniest thing. Like, can you imagine on one of your days off, right? On one of your days off, actually going to a building and pretending to give a shit. Like, that's the funniest part about all of this. These people do not give a fuck about Jesus Christ, even a tiny little bit. They don't care. If they did, they would give their money to the poor, right? And how do I know? Because that's what the guy says to do. Constantly. Over and over again. Like, if you're not giving your money to the poor as a rich person, like, if you're not taking your wealth and handing it to a poor person and saying, have a nice day, if you're going, well, I don't want them to buy drugs, well, I want to know what they're going to do with that money. If you're hanging all these strings on it, if you're making excuses, and if you're doing all that kind of stuff, you're not a Christian. Full stop. You are not a Christian. You're just a fraud pretending so that you can have a little group, a little club. Like all your buddies go to and be like, Alleluia, Alleluia. You don't give a fuck. You don't care at all. And I think it's hilarious that we're just like not constantly pointing this out. And like every single religious institution that exists in this capitalist structure is by definition fraudulent. Here's the structure, right? So all of these priests and rabbis and pastors, right? Who do they vote for? They vote conservative, they vote liberal, right? So they maintain the system of poverty. Right? Their book tells them to fight against poverty and give money to the poor, but they're going to vote for somebody who maintains the system of poverty on purpose. Right? Then they turn to their constituents, right? To the people who actually show up on Sunday school or for Sunday or whatever, and they say, we actually really should care about the poor. Look, it says so in this book, even though I vote conservative and liberal to maintain the system of poverty. Give us money. And then people go, oh, we should care about the poor even though we vote to maintain the system of poverty. And they put money in the dish. And then all of that money goes to the church. And then the church takes a tenth of a tenth of a percent of that. They pull out a penny, right? And then they have a barbecue on Thursdays. And they say, it's a barbecue for the poor to come and have some food. Look at the food that we're giving to the poor on Thursdays, one Thursday a month. Yes, all the rest of the money they take and they make a gold like crown or like a gold chair or something, right? They get an organ like with silver on it or something. Alleluia, Alleluia, right? So they vote to maintain the system of poverty, and then they guilt the masses into giving them money, taking a piece of it, throwing it at the poor and saying, yeah, we're helping. Instead of gathering those people and taking to the streets and insisting that the system of power eliminate poverty. Like, that's literally the only way I think any of these religious institutions have credibility whatsoever. So they're all frauds. By definition. Structurally. They're all frauds. Like, and if you're going to church, and if you're going to these institutions, and if you actually disagree with me, fuck you. Like, fuck you. Tell me why. Tell me why you think your religious institution, who refuses to fight on behalf of the poor and uses them as a prop to get money for itself, actually has any legitimacy whatsoever. And your answer is probably going to be, because I feel the Spirit moving me on Sundays. You don't need the church for that. You can do that all by your fucking self, sweetie. Jack Reed, good to see you, bud. It's a great summation of the religion under the control of capital. Yeah, I grew up under it, dude. I know all about it. Like, I know all about it. Like, I literally went to, like, a private Christian school from kindergarten to grade 12. I didn't stop believing that Jesus Christ was coming back at any moment until I was like 25. So that's how entrenched it was inside of me. Took a long time for me to get through that and stop believing in it. And then once that happened, I started to take the critical eye that they had given me, because that's one of the benefits that I actually got from that upbringing, was a critical eye of the secular society, right? And I took that critical eye and I turned it back on the churches. And what you just heard from me is what I've come to believe. That the churches themselves are structurally fraudulent. And $1 spent in the church is $1 wasted. Take that dollar, hand it to a poor person in the street. And if they go and buy booze with it, fantastic. This idea that, like, poor people will just buy alcohol. So what? So do you. You fucking loser fraud. Literally, these guys guzzling whiskey, smoking cigarettes, taking bong tokes, snorting coke. And you're like, if I give it to a poor person, they'll just spend it on drugs. So? You fucking hypocritical loser. Like, get the fuck out of here. Ugh. You haven't lived until you've been in a Slaneshi cult. You know what, though, John? You raised an excellent point. The Slaneshi, at least, they're not bullshitting anybody, right? It's just like blood for the blood god, right? Like, come on in here, we're gonna take a finger, you know, like, it's fine. And we'll put the blood in the chalice, and we'll all drink the blood together, and that will empower the rise of Slanesh, right? Like, that's fine. Like, they're not bullshitting anybody, right? They're not pretending like they don't support a death cult, right? Yeah, more lube and leather. What? You know what, John? Whatever you need to get through your life, right? As simple as that. Whatever you need to get through your life. Oh. Okay, guys. I've been holding it in for like a half hour. I got to pause for a moment. Go use the washroom. Time for the couch stream. Hey, everybody, it's the couch in the couch stream. Man, I feel like I've had like more new people floating into the chat, and I haven't been saying, hey, if you donate $1 to my Patreon, you get to join the Discord. If you would like to support me and my work, please donate at the Patreon. It's in the description. Dude, I actually think I feel like I could pivot this into a cult, and I would probably be more successful. I say this all the time. Like, more and more communist shit is starting to come up, and it's always like bread themed, right? There's always like a bread kind of thing that's attached to it. And I've really come to understand that, like, dude, I should have like a loaf of bread hat, right? And the bread cape and the bread stuff, right? I could have all of this kind of stuff. And people will be like, wow, you really like bread. I'll be like, nah, I'm gluten intolerant. Where's Milo? Milo's over at my ex's. That's all. He's completely fine. He's completely safe. By the way, John, would you like a copy of all my Cyberpunk tabletop stuff in PDF? I mean, not really, dude. I don't think I'm ever going to play that game, straight up. Like, thanks for the offer. I appreciate it, but I don't think I'm ever actually going to play that game. And I didn't even know there was a Cyberpunk tabletop game. Oh. How you all doing out there, man? How you all doing? How's everybody doing? Let's do a gut check. We're getting late into the stream. We're getting into the period where I generally start to get a little hooba-jooby. I generally start to get a little bit more. How's everybody doing? You all feeling stable? Are you at least feeling stable? You know? Like, if you're really honest with yourself, I know things seem unstable, and we are heading towards a general period of instability. But are you actually stable right now, in this moment? When you actually think about it, are you actually feeling like, oh shit, like everything's going to topple over right now? And you should be honest with yourself about whether the answer to that is yes or no. Can you pay your rent? Are you okay? I know for myself, I can get caught in the feeling that everything is going to... everything's falling around me, that everything's collapsing. But when I'm quite serious with myself about, do I feel stable? I find that the answer is yes. I'm paying my bills. There isn't any sign that I'm not going to be doing that anytime soon. I'm not happy about the method of how that's happened, obviously. Like, I'm doing this in my ostensibly my free time. Like, so I think that we could be doing better as a people, obviously. But just admitting to myself that, no, like, I'm not going to be dying tomorrow. Like, I'm not going to be falling over. I'm not going to be collapsing, right? Creates in me a sense of security and creates in me a sense of a foundation, a stability, something I can work from and not be so frantic and not feel so detached and so erratic, that I can actually say to myself, okay, I'm here. I can work with this. I can move forward. And maybe try to have some fun. Maybe try to have some fun. When was the last time you had a laugh? When was the last time you had any fun? Like, I hope that I can make you laugh from time to time. I hope that I at least make you smile from time to time. I hope it's not all doom and gloom out there for you. And I hope you are enjoying yourself. I think one of the worst things that we do to ourselves as a people is this idea that we should revel in the suffering. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, we should be enjoying ourselves. We should be smiling and laughing and hugging and having orgasms and enjoying one another. What's this fucking self-flagellation that we do? Like, that's total nonsense. And yeah, Gino, I think that's a fair thing to say, right? And it's true for me too, right? Any bump in the road could lead to disaster. But that's just something that's in your imagination, right? It's believable, right? Like, you can foresee it. It's something that can be perceived. It's not a utopian vision of a future that's like, it's something that you can see. Like, a branch can break from a tree and break your arm, right? Like, that's a believable story. But it's not happening. It's not real. It's just a worry. It's just a fear, right? And once you realize that idea that, oh, a bump in the road, it could, well, once you realize that, sure, it could, but it isn't, it hasn't, it might, And once you see that for what it is, that's just your brain putting anxious fears on you and putting you into a state of fight or flight and getting you to look around and constantly perceive everything from a position of fear. Once you see that for what it is and recognize that, okay, the fears are not the reality, that reality is the reality, and the reality is that there might be a bump in the road, but there isn't yet. Then you can operate from there. Then you can operate from the place you are instead of the place where you fear to be. On the contrary, the reason I'm here at all is to mentally prepare for everything to go to shit. Well, a good way to mentally prepare for that, a really good way to mentally prepare for that, is to plant yourself in what is real and what is actually happening right now in your life. Right? Like, sure, we can be aware of what's coming. And yes, we should prepare. And yes, we should see what's going on down the line. But we should also know what's happening right now. And right now, in my life, I'm going to end this stream in about 20 minutes. I'm going to play some Cyberpunk. Gonna go to bed. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to go work at a job that I don't mind. Cafe where I'm surrounded by people who I like. I don't dislike anybody at my work, and in fact, I think everybody's feeling the same way, and everybody's very supportive. And I'm going to spend Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday working at that cafe, doing that job, helping people get snacks and food as they enjoy a park environment, a special little place here in Toronto, the Evergreen Brickworks, right? That I will be the supporting actor in the story that is their life, and I'll win the Academy Award, thank you very much. And after I do that, for those 4 days, right, I'll come home on Monday, and if I don't feel sick, I'll fire up the stream on Monday, and maybe we'll have a cry if something bad happened. But I don't perceive that anything bad is going to happen to me while I go from point A to point B and I go to that job that I don't really mind because it's got good people doing a task that isn't hurting anybody. All the food is locally sourced. Everything is environmentally safe and aware. We try to make our footprint as small as possible, and we're literally giving treats to people as they enjoy nature. And when I think of what is immediately going to happen to me in my life, what is happening now and in the next hour and tonight and then tomorrow and the next day, I realize that things aren't going to be so bad, you know? That's going to be a good time, actually. I'm going to have a good time with it. That I'm going to go through and live peacefully and be at peace with everyone around me. That I'm not going to be interacting with enemies. I'm not going to be interacting with people who hate me. I'm mainly going to be interacting with good people who are just trying to make it through. And that's a good place to be. Because it's easy to get caught into what may come. And it's easy to try to make your fears a real reality. And it's good to be prepared. But if that's all you're doing, then you're robbing yourself of what is. And what is actually happening to you. And you're not allowing yourself to enjoy, to really enjoy the process of living. That you're just living in a place of fear and anxiety and paranoia about what might occur. good advice. I don't pay enough attention to the present. Yeah. And you could. You could. You could just sit down and just be there for a minute. Right? Doesn't take much time. I'm pretty well off. I'm thinking of going back to school for a 4-year. No kidding, John. What are you thinking of doing? What are you thinking of doing? I was thinking of doing very much the same thing until Doug Ford got into office and kind of blew all that up for me. Who knows what's going to happen in the future, eh? Like, for all we know, finance with a minor in economics, very good. If I were to go back to school, I would do an economics degree, I think. I'd be very interested in actually getting accredited for the economics work that I've already done. Like, I feel like I've read so much economic stuff, and I've listened to so many economists, and I talk about economics a lot on this show. But I don't have like a degree in it. I don't even have a minor in it. I don't have anything in it. I just, literally everything I know has been because economics became the center of the power structure, right? And I had to know. I had to know what language these guys were talking, and I had to know what it was they were actually dealing in. And I kind of come out the other side after reading Smith, Ricard, Marx, after listening to Krugman, after taking courses at Harvard, at Berkeley, after taking financial courses, Richard Wolff and all the rest. And I just realized, like, oh yeah, like, American economics is fraudulent. Like, really, really, really fraudulent. I mean, with the income I currently make, my job, and a few investment accounts, I think I could kill it in day trading and investments and retire at 50. Good for you, bud. Good for you. That's a good position to find yourself in, man. No lie. No lie. And if you've got the skill and you got the know-how and you know how to do it. Oddity is writing 1 in 5 deaths of U.S. adults 20 to 49 is from excessive drinking, study shows. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. Like, people see what's coming. People understand what's coming. Like, there is such a thing as a collective consciousness. And we collectively, as a people, understand what's going to happen. It doesn't, at this stage in the game, it's obvious. It doesn't take a genius. Like, you really got to work hard to pretend like it isn't going to happen. Like, you really got to work hard. That the only skill I'm bringing to the table is the ability to articulate it into words so that you can hear it with your ears and understand it. But fundamentally, you understand it. Fundamentally, like in your heart and in your bowels, in your stomach, right? You know that we are going to be hitting hard times. And there's a difficult road ahead. We all know. And there's no reason to pretend otherwise. And the only reason people tune in and the only only reason people listen to me is because the words that are coming out of my mouth are the words that already exist in your heart. But there's a lot of people in the world who are not going to find solidarity, who are not going to find solidarity movements, who are not going to find people, who are not going to find safe harbors, and who see what's coming and they can't deal with it. They can't live with it. And so they turn to drink or fentanyl, right? The fentanyl crisis is enormous. And so people try to kill it. Kill the internal awareness. And that's really what alcohol is doing. That's really what alcohol is doing. Is that it's killing the awareness. Or at least it's making you not care about it. And eventually it kills people. John, no, I'm here to know what the opposition are saying. You filthy, filthy commies. Happy to let you know, John. Happy to let you know. Don't forget us. Don't forget us from your palace, okay, bud? We'll be right outside the gate. Jack Reed, I have a copy past I'm developing. Would love to post it in Discord for some criticisms if you're up for it. Yeah, bud. Put it in the Discord. I'll hit you back on Monday, okay? Not gonna do it quite yet. If you'd like, I can even read it on the stream if you're down for that. I've done that before for people. Okay, people have started a GoFundMe to get Kanye back to billionaire status. Kanye. You guys will notice that I haven't said much about Kanye. Because I think, like, it was somewhat heartening to see Kanye finally get bailed on by a lot. Like, the anti-Semitism, right? The anti-Semitism that he was beginning to espouse. I mean, big red flag, right? Like, big red flag. That even the whites were finally like, because Kanye West had been talking shit about black people for like 5 years, if not more. The same kind of Candace Owen bullshit. But like, white people are fine with that. Like, white people are actually pretty happy when black people use all the racist talking points that white people wish they could say, right? That's generally the truth. And so, like, Reebok and Adidas and Nike and all these guys and whoever the fuck was his advertisers, I don't care that much, are completely fine if Kanye wants to talk shit about black people, right? But it's nice to know that that some of them are at least drawing a line in the sand that, like, oh, you're starting to sound like a straight up Nazi. Like, you're starting to say some, like, real anti-Semitic shit. Like, yeah, that's scary. That's scary, right? And what it's doing, and I see what it's doing, is it's creating a zeitgeist around Kanye of neo-Nazis. That's all. And the neo-Nazis are getting together and creating a GoFundMe to make sure that Kanye can continue operating as a lightning rod for neo-Nazism. That's all. Like, that's all. You'll escape in your ultra yacht, and I'll stand on the coast, John, being like, John! Priorities, no shit, eh? Private crit, if it's not very good, but if you think it's a value to discuss, I'm up for you to do live as well. It's helped some of my colleagues recognize Candace Owens as a white supremacist. Good for you. I don't really pay that much attention to Candace Owens. Like, you guys will notice, I don't do any videos where I'm like, let's dissect so-and-so. Because I don't actually think it's very valuable. Like, Candace Owens is as obvious as it gets. Like, you really just need to watch her once. And then just go to her Wikipedia page and see who pays her. Right? Like, my opinion of Candace Owens is that she is a despicable person who will say whatever you want her to say for money. That's it. Like, I don't think she has morality. I don't think she cares about morality. I don't think she actually cares what's coming out of her mouth. That if you pay her enough, like, she will just turn on a dime if you pay her enough, right? She's literally just like a prostitute for power. That's all. Like the Bible would be like the whore of Babylon. That's it. Like she doesn't care what the impact is. She doesn't care what she is bringing into the world. She doesn't care. For her, it's just, oh, you want me to say that? Okay. And that's it. So responding to someone like Candace Owens is a waste of time, because Candace Owens is essentially every white racist that's ever existed. Like, you read a text like Cotton is King, which is a text of essays written by pro-slavers on the lead up to the American Civil War, and you're like, oh, this is Candace Owens. And it is. Those are her talking points. It's just she gets away with it because she quote unquote gets away with it because she's a black woman. But she isn't actually representing herself. Like, that's just the skin that she has to benefit herself. Her true position is just, this is money for me. That's all. Dude, I think Trevor Noah said it best. Something bad is going on in Kanye's head, and instead of asking if he needs help or if there's something wrong, they prod it for reactions and point their phones. Yeah, I think there's truth to that. Like, I think there's truth to that. Like, I'm dead sure that racists and reactionaries have something wrong inside of their mind, right? Like, if you're a narcissist, like a legitimate, like, and not just as an insult, but like as a genuine, honest, like, you're a narcissist, that's a mental disability. Like, that's something that we should have a lot of sympathy for someone who's living a life like that, who's not capable of actually having genuine relationships, who's not capable of actually connecting with people in a real way, who genuinely believe that because you're a different color than they are, that somehow makes you inferior. Like, that's a very sad, pathetic person. And instead of looking at those people and being like, we've got to get you some help, dude. Like, we've got to get you into a group. Like, we got to at least acknowledge it. Like, we've at least got to acknowledge it and understand that the things that are coming out of your mouth are from this position of mental illness. Like, I've had people in my life who are schizophrenic, and they would do all kinds of crazy... Or let's take an even more banal example, right? Like, someone who has Tourette's, right? If you have Tourette's syndrome, and you're standing there talking to somebody, and then they swear, maybe they swear at you, right? It would be wrong of you to be like, oh, how dare you? Because, like, they're dealing with that shit. They didn't mean it. Like, they're not attempting to insult you or anything. It's just what there is. It's just what it is for them, right? But instead of that, we commodify it. Like, we're looking at someone who has obviously got, like, some pretty mental, and also, like, from Kanye's position, like, dude just went through, like, a major divorce, a very public major divorce, right? Like, is experiencing obviously some emotional trauma and some obviously divorce, kids, career winding down, hitting middle age, all of that. Just from the basic human level. Forget about the mental illness part of it, which he obviously is suffering from something, right? Like, instead of being like, yeah, let's let him deal with that. Let's let him experience that. But instead of that, we're like commodifying it. And someone like Piers Morgan is getting him on a show and is talking to him as if he is like well, and he isn't. Right? So for Piers Morgan, it's just like, what a get. I get Kanye West on my show. Amazing. But if you actually listen to the interview that he did with Piers Morgan, the whole time, Piers Morgan is basically just glad-handing his balls the entire time. Because I think Piers Morgan knows what he's dealing with. I think he knows he's dealing with somebody who's kind of unwell. And it's very, very sad what we're doing as a people. That we're fueling this. That we're legitimizing it. And instead of saying, like, dude, like, we should not be having, like, public interviews with this guy. Like, he should get some fucking help. And he should be surrounded by people who actually care about his well-being instead of surrounding himself by people who are trying to monetize him. Instead of surrounding himself by people who are trying to make money off of him. And that's all that's happening to him right now. The only people who are surrounding themselves and the only people he is surrounding himself by are people who want to make money off of him. And I'm deeply concerned that all of this anti-Semitism shit and all of this like White Lives Matter and Trump hat shit is going to lead him to a path where the only people who will be willing to he'll be willing to be surrounded by, right, will be literal neo-Nazis. And he'll just like be in with a neo-Nazi crowd, which is wild, but it seems to be what's happening to him. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And no, Con, I don't think the human spirit is dead. I don't think the human spirit is dead. I think the capitalists have tried to commodify it and have tried to kill it, but I don't think it'll go down that easy. I don't think you can corral humanity as easily as we think. That the human spirit is stronger than the capitalist's imagination. We need a class traitor billionaire to train Maoist guerrilla army in their underground bunker. Yeah, I'm sure they'll get right on that. The best I've ever seen is a billionaire who gave all his money away. That's the best I've ever seen. Because that's the only good billionaire, right? Is one who gives his money away. Well, we've done it, guys. We reached the end. Always remember, each and every one of you is a quantum being, walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Rebel. Revolt. Repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.